You're listening to Well, I Laughed, Part 1 of Buried Below, The Big Cheese. Please don't cut in there. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
So tired, Grant.
I feel that, as I have said to a lot of children the last week.
Yeah.
Heard.
Oh, God. Here we go again.
Understood.
There's not enough wine in this glass.
There's 2 more bottles behind me. Looked at a child today who was sleeping, one of my advanced kids.
Yeah.
And I kind of tap him on the shoulder a little bit. And he goes, and I go, hey, kiddo. And he goes, I'm so sorry. And I go, whoa, you're okay.
Yeah.
Are you all right? Because viewer, what I wasn't saying out loud to this kid was like, I have never seen you shut your eyes even to blink. You are kind of like medically on all the time. So are you okay?
Are you good?
But I'm trying to be chill about it.
Right, right.
And he was like, yeah, sorry. I'm not feeling super well and I didn't sleep well last night. And obviously I'm now not feeling well again today. And I go, no worries. Like, take your time if you need to. And he goes, yeah, again, I'm so sorry. And I go, yeah, if you need to put your head back down, that's fine. I'm seeing if you're okay. He goes, I'm so sorry, Mr. Sound. And I go, I almost wanted to go, shh, go back to sleep.
You need to learn like hypnosis, like just snap and he goes down.
So felt, heard, understood.
Have I ever told you when I got hypnotized?
I know you had just said hypnotized, but I heard just the very first start of that word, and I was prepared for hit by a car.
Oh my God.
No, tell me more. I'm excited about this.
So every year at Mines, they have like a welcome freshman kind of like couple of days worth of events. And one of those events is a hypnotist. And for a while, it was the same hypnotist every year. And my freshman year, I got selected to like be hypnotized. And so I was hypnotized and it was fine. You know, like I don't like I have like memories, like blinks and flashes, but I don't remember a lot of it.
And then you woke up and you were dating Casey.
I woke
Plot
up
twist
in
for
this
the
chair.
Well, I laughed. There's horror movies about this exact plot. You know, right?
I know.
Okay, cool.
There's so much editing I must have done in my sleep. No, but the second year I was then on that event planning council, which was sort of in charge of that event, or at least helping out with that event. And so I was seated in the front row for the hypnotist. And the hypnotist was like, has anyone been hypnotized before? And so I raised my hand. I had already gotten selected to go on stage because I was in the front row. And at that point, I thought it would be funny if I would get hypnotized every 4 years. Of course, it didn't happen. Each time, every year for 4 years.
Okay.
So I got on the stage, and he was like, have I hypnotized any of you before? And so I raised my hand, and then he was like, so this really interesting thing happens when like something in your brain kind of remembers what I did. And so he like kind of grabs my hand and looks into my eyes, and I kind of remember like everything else going fuzzy. And then he's like, and he does this sound. He's like no, it's
sorry,
it's like a click and then like a click and snap or something like that. And then he's like, and sleep. And there's videos. I just go down. And then he has me come up to the front while I'm like hypnotized. And he told me while I was asleep that I would forget my name and the number 7. And so he has me come up to the front and asks me to count to 10. And I like really quickly, I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. And then he has me hold out he like asks me all these like really simple math questions, like what's 6 minus 1, 5, what's 6 plus 1? And it was just
8.
Yeah, like, I don't know. And then he had me hold out my fingers. Yeah, and like he was like, count with me, and I would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I couldn't say 7, so he was just like 8, and so I was like 8, 9, 10, 11.
So I want you to into the microphone, count from 1 to 10 very quickly. Let's do that now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10.
Perfect. Both your hands in front of you, just like this. Okay, I'm going to touch each finger, and you're going to count with me. But before I do that, just looking at this hand, how many fingers do you see on that hand? 5. Okay, look at this hand. How many fingers do you see? 5. And then that would make how many?
10.
10. Perfect. Okay, very simple. All right, ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8, 9, 10, 11.
That's a bit high.
That's great.
11. You know what? Let's forget that for now, okay?
And so, yeah, that happened in front of a room full of like 1,000 plus soon-to-be engineers. So.
And then you did it a third time. And
No, I didn't.
Okay. You were like, well, that's enough humiliation for me.
Yeah, because afterwards
If
they're
I
like,
had
you
that
are the girl
approach-
that forgot the number 7.
7.
I was like, okay.
Oh, I just figured they were going to stop at the phrase, you were the girl. It was mine.
You're not that wrong.
I know I'm not. Thank you, though. That's fun. And it reminds me a little bit of the book that I just finished reading.
The sci-fi one?
Yes. A little mlimla, as I like to say.
Multi-level marketing scheme.
Correct. Which is all gay relationships. But mlimla in this instance stands for men loving men.
Which I think is also a multi-level marketing scheme.
Correct
Okay.
again.
I just want to
I knew
make
that.
sure we have that
I
down.
knew that hypnotist would wear off eventually. New joke for the entire episode. Good. It's that line from
Wake up,
right?
Maya.
Don't freak them out like that. Don't do that to them. We trust each other.
Jackie, wake up. I don't like this. Is it Jackie? No, it's
Girl,
wrong.
I don't know. This is the first reference you've made that I was like, no basis for.
It's from Stranger Things, I think.
That's why I don't watch Stranger Things. But it reminds me of that line from Archer. Just like that old gypsy woman predicted.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So
So offensive.
I know.
And you were like, anyway. Moving on.
So I've been reading a lot recently. My friend, gonna shout it out on the main episode. I think I did it on the Patreon last time. Main episode shout out. My near and dear friend Riley in Omaha. Love her to death. Gave me the idea, basically the day after the election, to just lose myself in as much fiction as possible.
I've been doing that too.
And baby, the way I have been doing that, and it's consuming me like a fever that I'm just trying to treat with essential oils. Like, it's just all up in me.
I've read like 350 chapters
Yeah.
worth of stupid online little books.
Yep.
I'm so invested.
I'm gonna have to circle to that in 2025 because I am rapidly reaching the limit of what the established publishing world will do for books. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, you got to find the online.
I finished Winter's Orbit, which, by the way, is it in my top 3 for this year? No. But is it my least favorite? Also no.
Is your top still Charm Defensive?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the way you know me and that I know you and that you know what I'm about to say. So I finished Winter's Orbit yesterday,
Okay.
started a second book
Nice.
last night.
Nice.
I'm not going to say the name until I'm a little bit deeper in and I can like really kind of
You
like
actually like
write
it, yeah.
vouch for whatever. But now I'm driving around and I'm tired of like listening to songs. Like I'm tired because I like
so
constantly
you
want to check
got
my
the
phone.
audio.
Of Charm Offensive.
Nice.
Like, let's go back
Nice.
to a comfort book. And it's what I
Yes.
want to listen to when I drive to Nebraska. So
Hell yeah.
I am just, and it's 10 hours, bless up.
Yeah.
So I am just like consumed in
Yeah.
literature right now. And it's good. It's really good. It's healthy. It's good.
I love that. So
Thank
I used to listen to audiobooks a lot, especially when I was driving back and forth between here and Utah all the time. And that's how I finished like Throne of Glass series. That's how I read like the first couple Crescent City books. That's how I read a lot of the Blood and Ash series. In fact, like the first 3 from Blood and Ash books, I've never actually opened. I
Right.
bought them afterwards
To
because I
display.
wanted them on my shelf.
Books are trinkets. Books are trinkets.
If it's good, I'll buy it.
We
I'll
should
buy it
put
hardcover.
that on a bag. Books are trinkets.
Books are. Ooh.
Wait.
On a tote?
Yes.
Yes. I like
And
that.
Will I Laugh Blue?
Yes. Duh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah. Coming soon.
I have to find a tote distributor.
I think
Trader Joe's.
ours has totes.
Really?
I had one in the drafts for a while.
Oh, whoa, definitely totes then. Okay, so I continue.
No, there was one book that I was finishing, and I remember it so distinctly because I was pulling into Ogden, the city that I was staying in. And it was like the last book of a trilogy called like Dark Knight, I think.
Okay.
And the book is like really good. The world building is amazing. It is like women written by men, so it's like definitely weird, but
yep.
he did a good job.
Sure.
But at the end it gets really like, I don't know, like ethereal. Like suddenly she's in this like blank space and there's like a goddess, and it was just like so confusing, and I was so tired. I'd been driving for 8 hours. I had to rewind it like 5 times as I'm getting to the hotel.
Without
I was like
being able to like see the words.
I was like, what do you what do you mean she stepped into nothing? Like, I don't understand how this book ends.
Speaking of hypnotic states, that is Ogden, Utah. No person I've ever talked to has ever been like, so there was 2 p.m. Ogden, Utah.
I love Ogden.
Really?
Yeah,
the
I really
only
liked
time
it.
I've ever been in Ogden is like legitimately it's 11 p.m. We're getting gas. We're like trying to make it to St. George that night.
It's
right?
really
like,
nice. It's so I was actually there for Pride that year.
Oh, fun.
And I found out that a lot of people in Salt Lake City hate Ogden because it's like the Sin City and like there's a lot of like
Wait, is Ogden north of Salt Lake City?
40 minutes.
Oh shit, I'm thinking of Salina, Utah.
Okay, yeah. I was
That's
going to say
south.
how dare you?
I apologize, Ogden. I didn't realize your game came like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had
Is the
something to
Ogden
talk
Pride good? Should I go?
It's like definitely smaller. Like
Sure.
it's basically if like
Sometimes those are fun.
yeah, it's like if Golden had a Pride
Oh,
in
that
and
is
of
kinda
itself.
fun.
It's like very charming.
Because then everyone's at like one bar at the end of the night.
Yeah,
And
there
it's
is like
Lincoln,
there is like
Nebraska.
literally one club.
I know. I have been in
Yeah.
a gay bar in Salt Lake City on a Thursday evening
That's
once.
insane.
Yeah. Do you know how much money you can burn through on drag queens when it's a single digit audience for a drag queen show?
And also
and I'm
they
a patron
won't
of the arts.
they won't give you doubles of anything or even 2 drinks at once.
Thank you for reminding me that I actually don't want to go vacation in Utah.
Yeah. It's and you can't buy certain drinks at certain times. Oh, I found out. Okay, I have 2 things, and then you can tell all your little stories.
Okay.
That sounded so condescending. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
good. I'm glad you heard it because it certainly felt condescending.
Remember that one time you were like,
Go ahead. I'm listening fully.
well, do you have anything else? I want space to tell my story. Remember when you said that to me? Remember?
Oh, remember that time I communicated that I had something to share, but I didn't want to speak
When I was in
over
the
you?
middle of the goddamn story. Anyway, did you know raccoons are prying open?
Jesus Christ. Hold on. Wait, are you talking about the
They're
Cybertrucks?
prying open
Because they-
Cybertrucks because they think they're garbage.
Mother Nature is literally like, what is this rolling dumpster?
Yeah.
How dare you say that about our future vice president-elect after he does something unspeakable to J.D. Vance, Elon Musk? It actually really is so crazy because I'm so deep in the world of literature right now that every time I pop my head up for even just a second to get like the fire hose of news, they're like, they found Darth Vader's body and he's in charge of the Department of Ed. You know, like that is every single update right now.
That is really what's keeping me off of social media. Every time I run into like another, and this person is being thought of for the person for this.
I don't
super
know
important.
if what I'm about to tell you
Oh,
is a
Lord,
real
Josh.
article,
Okay.
a Onion
Onion
article, or
that's-
just a fugue state that my brain connected together.
That's the hellscape we're living in
Jake
right now.
Paul will be conducting the presidential fitness examinations. Or is that a real thing? I don't know. I don't know.
I
We're so
want to
past the
say
point of
no, but
parody.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
And none of our algorithms can handle a single hit of Googling Jake Paul enter.
No, they can't.
You had a story.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so I had a wedding on Sunday. If you listened last week, you heard how hungover I was.
I broke into her house
Yeah.
with the code she gave
Yeah.
me.
But while we were on our way to like the drink event the night before the wedding, like
Sure.
the welcome party or whatever, Casey's driving because it's like my friend and like a bunch of people I know. So he I don't know. He also doesn't trust me behind the wheel, which is fair.
On the way there, on the way back?
Yes.
Okay. He wasn't wrong on the way back.
Yeah. He hands me. No, this was the night before.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
He hands me the phone on the way there, and he's like, "You're in charge of music," and I was like, "Me? Like you?" Especially if you know there's traffic, like you get a little stressed.
Wait for me.
No.
I'm coming.
Because he says Chapel Roan is requested, and I went,
Oh, cute.
"What?"
By him?
"Yeah," and he was like,
Mm-hmm.
"I saw her perform on SNL, and it was
Yeah.
it was really fire," and I
Yes.
was like, "Yeah, right."
I'm so glad that you have your own Griffin.
Yeah, it's so true.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there's a straight man in your life who's like, so what do you know about this Chappelle Roan
Yes.
situation going on? That's a keeper right
Mm-hmm.
there, okay? You want him, not the bear in the woods, okay?
Yeah,
That's the
true.
only way we could really describe
And
it.
then Casey was also like, and maybe like some Sabrina Carpenter, and I was like,
Also, really...
"Who are you?"
Okay, I'm sorry. I actually really did cook recently
Yeah.
on a message I was sending to someone while being vulnerable in a romantic
Oh.
way.
R.I.P.
I hate it.
Here lies Grant.
I hate it so much. I would rather be in grad school, and I'm already in grad school. I hate
Fair.
it so much. I'm like actively like, oh, I got to make sure I schedule my dentist appointment coming soon. I hate being this vulnerable. But anyways, I said recently, Sabrina Carpenter is what triggered this little thought bubble.
Fair.
We were talking about chai tea and getting a nice chai and then getting a dirty chai, and then he was like, oh, yeah, but like sometimes like the sugar and like the espresso really upsets my stomach. And I said, yeah, I totally get it. If I'm looking for like a pick-me-up, I either go with a nice Americano or a martini espresso. It just depends on the time of day. Ha, ha, ha. Because I'm charming to talk to. And it killed. Of course it killed.
Of course.
And Sabrina Carpenter espresso. That's all it took from me.
That's so good.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because I'm a stinger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is now just going to be the world's worst pivot in the world. Is there anything else you want to say about that before I do that pivot?
That's it. That's fine. That's all I had.
I want to actually, I was kind of hoping you had more about the raccoons, to be completely honest.
No, it was just a social media post that I was like, ha! And then wrote it down in my notes.
Good. I want to say this, but as I'm saying this, I want you to think of the talking newscast fish from SpongeBob, whose like mouth would just hinge open. Breaking news, everyone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Paloma Diamond from
Right.
TikTok.
Right.
A person you still only vaguely know,
Yes.
but for who we have a small but loyal, passionate
That's
fan
true.
base for.
You guys are really into her.
Yeah. The actor / TikTok person. I'm going to use the word actor. I think that's maybe an aspiration for this person.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure pronouns are he, him. His name is Julian.
Oh.
He's not American.
Oh.
His whole bit is Paloma Diamond at American award shows. He's not American.
That's so funny.
He's either British or Australian and grew up in Hong Kong, where they would air them live. So he was like, I'd watch them Saturday morning instead of cartoons.
That's
so
funny.
Paloma Diamond is essentially, in his universe, his Bugs Bunny impersonation.
Nice.
Second, and this is so ridiculous. I'm gonna pour a little wine before I do it. Okay. So I have our interp kids. They like interpret literature, our acting kids on the speech and debate team. I have a class of them. There's like 9 of them. They're so sweet and wonderful and insanely talented and funny and creative and also like just the epitome of theater kids. And so that means we can say when.
Yep. Jesus Christ.
There's just a little bit of dribble there. I knew she got. You knew when you said when I was going to go more.
Yeah, I
Figured,
know.
oh, yeah, here's the cap. Okay, so we have all these theater kids, right? And we're being funny and it's not serious. And humor is an important part of processing big emotions that we experience.
Right.
And someone had just done a piece about religious trauma or whatever.
Oh, good.
And then someone pulled up a TikTok of people praying like Donald Trump supporters pray, but to Kamala Harris.
Nice.
So they're like, Kamala Harris, if you're there right now, Kamala Harris. If you're there. And I thought that was so funny. And my caffeine was really kicking in at this point in the morning.
Right.
That I go, guys, I'm sorry. That's not an appropriate thing to do. Donald Trump, if you're there right now, Donald Trump, I forgot chips today for my lunch. Donald Trump, if you're there, Donald Trump, please bring me chips for my lunch, Donald Trump. And it's like everyone's on the floor. It's killing. It's so funny. And then like I reach into my bag to grab some chapstick because it is like my gayest class.
Yeah.
And there's a small bag of Dots pretzels that I had forgotten I'd put in the day before. And so then I immediately hold them up and I'm like, Donald Trump, thank you, Donald Trump, please clear Highway 6 of them evil libs. Please help me get home quick today, Donald Trump. Thank you so much. And now I have to like actively sit on my hands from doing that bit to myself, like for myself. Like you're going to catch me outside of the many different espresso bars that I go to down in Denver, just absolutely doing a bit that I find funny, but it scares everyone else.
Especially coming from a bald man.
Yes, and in the neighborhood where I like now teach and stuff, there are still kind of defiantly Harris wall signs in a lot of my
There
commute.
really are.
And we love you, keep it up, fight the good fight.
Yeah.
But so I'm really kind of in that spiral right now.
Love that for you.
And then last story, the school, you know the school, so ridiculous.
Yes.
The school that I teach at.
Yes.
If you're a freshman in the freshman level theater courses, you have been spending the entire semester, it's November, barely, preparing like a full play with your class that is premiering tonight, right? And that means you have been excused from all your classes today for dress rehearsal. But it's kind of like 20 minutes of this. The
Right,
whole theme
yeah.
is actually Roald Dahl. And then I had to like act like I didn't know a lot about him because of the podcast, which was of course tough, but I did it. Donald Trump. Thank you, Donald Trump.
Jesus Christ.
You can just kind of throw it in whenever.
The transcript for this episode is going to bring in the wrong people.
Or listen, if we're really looking to monetize this, the right people. We need a liberal ecosystem, and it starts off first by angering people. All of our best TikToks deeply offended people.
At what cost?
I mean, we got new iPhones.
Yeah.
To read all the hurtful messages. So anyways, this one of these freshmen.
Keep commenting. I'll get the new one.
One of these freshmen is friends with one of my speech and debate freshmen. So she just is like hanging out in my room, but it's during one of my advanced classes. And as the bell rings, I'm about to hit like a small planning period of mine.
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she goes, "Mister, do you ever get overstimulated?" And I go,
It's so funny.
"All the time." Yes. Thank you. She goes, "Yeah, you're like, oh, there's always two different conversations happening at you at the same time. And like, you're talking about something different like every 20 seconds. Like I just like my phone's dead. So it's been charging. So I just been watching like class and like they ask so much of you." And I was like, "Thank you. What do you want? Do you want cash? What do you, I have chips."
That have been blessed.
You see me.
Oh my God.
You see me. And so it's been a fun week. It's been a weird week.
Yeah.
But in the way that children are elastic and just like, persevere, it's been fun. It's been good.
Oh, good.
And now we have a lot of wine.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Okay, so are you ready for today's story?
Yeah.
Truthfully, this story is unlike any story I have ever done before, and I have no idea how long it's going to go.
I've actually done holy fucking shit, Grant.
That's my source list. I don't think it's like when I see that from you, I know it means I live here now. I have to pay part
Yeah, I
of
was
the
gonna
mortgage.
say, I was like, you saw me with the Outlaw Pass.
Yeah, last time we did this, I finished recording at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it's going to be, but I think you're going to like this
Okay.
today's episode. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any guesses as to what it's going to be?
No, I was just panicked that it's gonna be my story, but you seem confident that it's not.
So confident that it's not.
Okay.
It's no secret. Americans love cheese.
Yeah. Good.
And just right. That's when
Done. Yeah.
when you
This
were-
is the end of the episode.
when
Thank
were
you
like,
guys.
I'm afraid we did the same topic. I'm like, girl, there's literally no way we did the same topic. Americans love cheese. And despite a recent nod toward milk alternatives, shout out my oat milk girlies. Rise up, almond milk crew. Hell yeah.
Okay. Calm down.
A study from the IDFA showed cheese consumption has reached an all-time high. In 2022, yearly consumption of cheese was 42 pounds per person.
That's an insane amount of cheese.
Americans eat almost... Sorry. The 42 pounds of cheese per person...
Per
is-
like what time frame?
So in the year 2022,
Oh, okay. Okay.
the amount of cheese that was purchased by American consumers...
Yeah. Okay.
roughly per capita equals out to 42
I was gonna
cheese
say.
per person.
I was gonna say. I feel like I'm under that, and that's shocking. But no, I'm definitely
right. It's a half-pound increase from the previous year
That adds up.
and breaks out to 0.8 pounds of cheese per week per person. I love this country.
I do too. I mean, I hate it, but I love it.
It's a complicated place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode is not like anything we've done in the last couple episodes. Like, not at all. Maybe unlike
I think
anything
we
I've done in
both
a
were
very
like,
long time.
we need to do something that like shows the bright side of humanity a little bit.
And you especially are going to
Yeah,
love this
okay.
episode. It is, as author Catherine Paulson once said, you may fascinate a woman by giving
Yes.
her a piece of cheese.
Yes.
So Maya, would you like a piece of cheese?
Yes, I would love a piece of cheese.
Oh, what's this?
the
What's this
hell up.
bag that Grant snuck behind the couch while you were busy getting ready in a
I
complete
was
total
busy
surprise?
eating turkey.
Like I am trying to get better at setting up the podcast, but there was a specific reason I wanted to make sure it got set up today. I did not want you to see this bag behind me. So please
so
enjoy
Yes!
a baby with cheese.
Oh my God.
Let's go ahead and snack on this together.
Excellent. I haven't really eaten anything today. So this is really good.
Oh, baby. Bell.
So the issue with going into the office is that now I need to like think about my meals like before 20 minutes before they happen.
Isn't it actually like everyone's like, oh my God, like I hate planning dinner every night. No, dinner's easy, relatively speaking, to plan every night. Lunch is what's hard.
impossible.
Yeah. The amount of times I once boiled like a half a bag of potatoes to have with like
I
a roast
remember
the
that.
next day,
Yeah.
and instead just packed it for lunch. And everyone was like, have the lights been turned off at your house? Like, what is wrong? I once roasted a squash and just brought its carcass to school one day.
That feels nutritious.
Fibrous. Teacher lunch is such a specific and wonderful thing. It's like the amount of teachers I've seen just eat like the crummy parts of a tortilla bag. Like they are not big enough for dip anymore, but you forgot to throw it away last night during like
So now
chips
you
and
just
salsa.
still have it, yeah.
Right. So now you're just eating like a little bit of carbohydrates. Please pause for baby bill consumption.
This is good.
I love cheese so much.
Yeah. Yeah, this is nice. Look at us.
Look at us. Look at us.
Look at us.
Oh, and before you ask, no, there was not a giant wheel of baby bill waiting for you at the end of this episode.
Every time you get me something from now until I receive that giant
That's
baby
good
bill.
because I am actually cautiously optimistic. And listen, I'm sure you guys are fast forwarding. You're like, where's the story? We're literally 2 sentences in and you're already pausing for a break. Maybe this whole thing's getting cut. I don't know. I need to ask you this question. Are you okay? Because we're co-business partners, so we have to approve this together. Approving up to $100 for giant baby bills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we don't have any other expenses at the moment,
Right.
really. Yeah. $100 is easy.
And it's also, and believe me, I have checked, impossible to find in the continental United States. But that doesn't deter me. It just reminds me of the importance of researching skills.
I got you that one McDonald's toy, and now here we are.
Yeah. I'm like, what? If I take 2 weeks off to fly to the ends of the earth to Mount Baby Bell, do you know what they're called? Maxi Bells.
Shut up. I hate it. I mean, I love it.
So, actually, the original Baby Bells, sorry. I did actually learn this during my research for this episode. You'll find out here in a little bit. The original Baby Bills are actually called Baby Bills. What you and I just consumed, the only version of this product available in the US, are mini Baby Bells. But then sometimes they will launch like retro editions, and that's the Maxi Baby Bell 200 grams edition.
You know so much about Baby Bells.
I need you to know, like, in my heart, it is serious when I say I am pursuing this. There's a red string.
I'm gonna cry.
I've been taking off the case. Like I
haven't been in your office for a while. What's going on in there?
I have to take it down every day for viewings.
Good.
Okay, so hey, we're back to the story. All right. So, you may fascinate a woman. You may fascinate a woman by giving her a piece of cheese.
I'm fascinated.
Clearly, but that quote came from Catherine Paulson's book, The Complete Book of Magic and Witchcraft. Published in 1971. Feel free to ask your questions. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I'm sorry was the question.
When I feel the need to speed up this episode, I'll let you know. But right now, we are absolutely in this, like, let it ruminate kind of stuff. Paulson's book draws on a long history of magic. It's history that has quite a lot of cheese in it.
I'm so excited.
It's not entirely clear why cheese is seen to have magical properties. It might have to do with the fact that it was made from milk, a powerful substance in itself, with the ability to give life and strength to the young. It might also be because the process by which cheese is made is a little bit magical.
Yeah, that's fair.
12th century mystic Hildegard von Bingen, Bingen.
Yeah,
Bingen.
At least the way that we Americans pronounce
Unless
letters.
it's French, and then I'm sure we're going to get people writing in.
Yeah.
My
favorite.
Thank you for caring.
No, I mean, thank you for like trying to point out our mistakes. The best part is that you don't have the opportunity to send us audio files, so you're just like, well, you're just like saying like, well, you pronounce these two letters as if you would in this word, and then the last part as in this word, and it's
And in my opinion, there needs to be more Z's. So, Hildegard von Bingen, 12th century mystic, compared cheesemaking to the miracle of life in the way it forms curds, or solid matter, from something insubstantial. In early modern period, which this article defined as
Yeah.
1450 to 1700.
Interesting.
The creation of the universe was also thought of by, in some people, through the terms of cheesemaking.
What?
All was chaos. Earth.
Shut the fuck up.
There are so many wonderful moments in today's episode. I want you to know.
Oh, what? I need you to finish this quote.
All was chaos. Earth, air, water, fire. Long ago, they all
Yeah.
lived in harmony.
And the fire. I'm so
Exactly.
glad you said that because I was about
We found
to.
each other. We can't have those secret tunnel pillows on our couch
No,
and not
and
have them
not
stand
do
for
this, yeah.
something. Air and fire were mixed together, and out of that bulk a mass formed.
Cheese.
Just as cheese is made out of milk, and worms appeared in it, and these were the angels. I don't know if we're
What?
talking about the earth or cheese. At the end of that quote, the subject
It could
gets
be
lost.
either.
And I know I've recently become endorsed to teach English education, but I'm like, we lose the subject at the end of that passage.
Yeah.
The connection with life and the mysterious way that cheese is made, therefore, puts it in a good position to claim magical properties.
Okay.
Cheese is magical, Maya.
I mean,
You and I know this.
yeah. Duh.
However, cheese is more than just magical. It's also mysterious. And like all good mysterious things, which I practiced, by the way, because I wanted to do it as a mistress or something like
Yeah.
that today in class. I was like, that's not it. All good mysterious, just had to give myself a compliment. Mysterious things. Sometimes
Philosophical.
cheese has a hiding place. And if you're literally over 1 billion pounds of cheese
What?
owned by the federal government,
What?
you might be buried beneath
What?
in an old converted limestone mine in Springfield, Missouri.
What? Grant, what? This is like my Area 51. Like, I'm about to go to Springfield, Missouri.
100%. And it goes all the way down and then all the way to the top. And I want you to remember that in 35 minutes when you were like, oh my God, wow, he's so right. It really does go all the way to the top. Oh, you are not ready for what I uncovered.
I'm not ready for any of this. You could say any sentence next and I'd be like, yeah.
But why, Maya, does the government own 1 billion pounds of cheese?
That's an insane amount of cheese.
And why are we storing it underground?
It's
That
cool,
story, somewhat internet famous, is more interesting and convoluted than you might initially expect.
Okay.
It stars President Jimmy Carter,
Of course it does.
Ronald Reagan,
Of course it does.
American dairy farmers,
Okay.
the role of our federal government,
Yep.
and many of our favorite snacks. And it's the subject of today's episode. Part 1 of Buried Below, the Big Cheese.
Shut up. I was so worried that my story is so obvious for this theme, and your story is
So
goddamn
dumb.
cheese. When you hear my story next week, you're gonna
I'm
be like,
sure it's just like
oh.
front cover of True
Yeah.
Crime Story or something. And so I was like, girl, I know it's
yeah,
not.
you were like, I'm like 99% sure, but you can send me some keywords if you want. And I was-
I would the 1% was like 6 months to a year ago. I mentioned offhandedly
Yeah.
secret underground government cheese caves. And everyone was like, what? And then it would pop up sometimes on like the Discord or something, and
okay.
people would be like, what? He mentioned it? And I'd be like, I don't know. And they'd be like, I think it was maybe a Patreon episode. And it was just like this big lumbering mystery. Secret government cheese caves. What are we talking about?
And now here we are.
And now here we are. I was like, you know what? It is time.
it
is time.
After our last few episodes.
Correct. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. We're gonna talk
Jesus.
about Buried Below, Part 1, the Big Cheese.
So the 1 billion pounds of cheese, can I ask,
Yeah.
has it multiplied in weight over the years? Has it are we taking from the cheese? Are we adding to the cheese? Is the cheese growing?
Are you familiar with America's National Strategic Petroleum Reserves?
Yes.
Okay.
This shut the fuck up. You're not serious.
Girl, who knows if I am or not? I mean, I obviously do. But like, Who else would know?
Well, now you have to explain the petroleum reserves to the people if anyone doesn't know.
So the U.S. government, in an absolutely normal, not at all should anyone be worried way, is like, we just are going to go ahead and keep just like a full tank of gas in the world's strongest military on earth.
Just in case.
Just in case America, the world's largest producer of oil, somehow runs out of it, we can
We're
still
not the world's
fight
largest
back.
producer. Are we?
Yeah. We're also the world's first or second largest consumer.
Oh, okay. I thought it was somewhere in the Middle East.
OPEC combined
That's what I was
might be able to
thinking,
produce
yeah.
more, but that's a conglomerate of
No,
countries.
okay, that's fair.
As far as individual nations
Countries.
go. Also, I'm now realizing that this is not just a conversation between Maya and I. We're definitely top 3.
Grant's like, I'm actually 98% sure.
Yeah, 100%. I'm more convinced that Maya wasn't knowing what I was doing, but I'm pretty sure that we
Yeah,
make a lot of
okay.
oil. So we just keep a stockpile
Just
of
in
it.
case.
Like the government buys petroleum regularly to like keep it full.
And didn't Biden release some during...
So presidents always kind of do this during
Yeah.
like their re-election year.
Yeah.
Because if you release a little bit of it, you then
Gas
increase
prices
supply
drop,
and
yeah.
that decreases
Yeah.
the price. And then after the election, they're like, oh, but gotta fill it up again. Sorry, now the election's done. Gas prices are gonna go up a little bit because now the federal government is in the market.
Yeah.
Let's talk about cheese.
Cheese.
Okay. History of American cheese industry. Let's first begin with a cheesy American history
Oh
lesson.
my God.
You knew it was coming.
No, I didn't.
You probably know nothing that's coming.
No, I literally don't, Grant.
Every paragraph is going to be like shocking to you, probably.
Yeah.
How fun.
I'm pretty sure I said that like 5 minutes ago. Sometimes he listens.
No, but you have no idea how fun it's about to get. Okay.
Yeah.
So cheese production in North America doesn't begin until the arrival of European colonizers in the 1500s.
That adds up.
Right? Because they bring cows, sheep, and goats, all animals that can be milked, and that milk turned into cheese.
I have never processed that cows aren't like native.
Or like sheep and goats aren't either.
I mean, but cows feels like a really big one.
Did you ever watch the movie Meet the Parents, starring like Ben Stiller?
I think I did, but it was
Early
a really
2000s.
long time ago. Yeah.
My mom loved that movie because she loves that kind of
Yeah.
kind of cringe embarrassment humor. My
Oh.
dad physically can't stand it.
Yeah, my parents
Like,
couldn't stand it.
physically
That's probably
repulsive.
why we watched it once and then
Right.
never again.
But this all explains why, for a family that had like very strict controls over what we were allowed to watch,
Yeah.
somehow I managed to watch Meet the Parents with my mom.
yeah.
Anyways, there's that
Fair,
line
fair.
where Robert De Niro goes, I don't know, Greg, I have nipples. Could you milk me? Because he's talking about milking a cat.
I love that. That's good.
It's so gross. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that I had to say that. So anyways, we bring milk producing animals, we as in European colonizers,
Yes.
bring milk producing animals to North America. And suddenly you have the main ingredient for cheese, milk.
Good. Good.
Before these, the Eastern Hemisphere animals, before these Eastern Hemisphere animals were introduced to the Western Hemisphere, there wasn't really an animal in North America that could produce milk. Starting in the 1790s, American farmers had begun to produce cheddar cheese that was high enough quality that
Oh.
they could then be shipped back
Export
to
it.
England.
Oh.
However, many European countries, which are still the largest consumer of cheese outside of America,
Right.
already had really proud cheddar, yes,
Yeah.
out of England. But like if you think England and France and Spain, all three have cheese cultures.
Yes.
Which is that's not the right word because culture is a word that you'd use in cheese
In
making.
literally cheese
Right.
making. I was
But
like,
they
that
have-
was a good wordplay.
Thank you. And it's like they really like their cheese.
They do.
And they really don't like competition
Yes.
from American farmers who have access to greater pasture because of the
Right.
process of conquering and colonization,
Yep.
which of course featured genocide. And that's an important thing to note, but also, and this is not like, oh, it's all okay, but like that also then made American cheddar competitive. Sorry, that was an unelegant transition.
I get it.
And so, especially in London and Paris, they were
Right.
like, American cheese is not as good as European cheese. And by and large, that has remained a stereotype
Yes.
about American cheese.
That's really
But
funny.
It's funny because it's also not true.
Yeah.
Because do you know who most American cheesemakers are? European immigrants.
Good point.
Oh, we're about to get into it. I mean,
Also,
who's
we
the
just have
mindset?
more regulations on like pasteurization. Like you're just gonna tell me yours has more germs in it, and don't like ban me from Europe because I do really like your cheese. But I'm not gonna lie, your level of stinky. Like sometimes people here are like, oh, I love stinky cheese, and I'm like, this is goat's cheese. Like you don't know stinky
Right, you
cheese
have
unless
no
you've had
idea.
a Chambert.
I love you because I now know enough about you and
Yeah.
then also feel like I can say this because I love you. I know you're talking about your blindfolded cheese tasting experience, which,
Yes.
while memorable, does seem to have been slightly traumatic for you.
A little bit. I've never been served a cheese I couldn't finish.
Go and tell the people about it, Maya.
Have I not sold this
You
story
have,
on the
but
podcast?
we got some people we got to catch up.
When I was in Paris with our dear friend Tyler, we did a dinner in the dark, which is essentially like they bring you into this like pitch black place, and then you kind of pick like your dietary restrictions, but then aside from that, you don't know what you're getting served, and you're served by a bunch of like legally blind individuals, and then
Sorry, I heard Legally Blonde. If you heard Legally Blonde too, you're not alone.
legally blind individuals, and they kind of like, and there's a couple people that are seeing individuals that have like night vision goggles so that you know like nothing nefarious is going on or whatever. Like they guide
Sorry,
you.
I'm laughing because my
Yeah.
male tendency.
I know.
I've just had never even thought about it.
they'll like guide your hand towards the wine glass when they first put it down, so you like know where it is and like that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And sort of last minute, Tyler and I decided to add a cheese plate to our like
Hell yeah.
like appetizer cheese
Literally
plate.
win in Rome.
Yeah, and
Or
so we
London.
did that. And your senses are so heightened in that environment. You stop using forks almost immediately. That shit is damn near impossible. And
Are
just
you the play that killed Lincoln? Because that sounds like My American Cousin right there.
it's honestly an inconvenience. No one talks about how hard it is to like get something onto a fork, not seeing the end of the fork,
You're
and
so
not
right.
really.
I never hear that discourse in
Yeah,
the media
I know.
these days.
I know. And then getting it into your mouth, it's fucking impossible. So like you really quickly end up using your hands and the fork, and then eventually you're just like, why am I doing this?
This is not pudding.
Yeah, exactly. And also your sense of smell is really heightened, and
Which is why it's like blindfolded
Yes.
in the dark.
Yeah, and
Right.
so I have like a really poor sense of smell normally.
Mm.
And so when this happened, I was like, I can smell colors. Like, and so they put this plate of cheese in front of me and I start eating it, and I recognize one of the cheeses as Chambert, which is like a unpasteurized brie essentially. And it is like very creamy, it's very good, but it is a lot stinkier. It has like a bit of a sharp taste to it that's not there in brie because it's unpasteurized. It has more of the bacteria in it. But I could only smell that, and I think there's one other stinky cheese on there. There was like a solid cheese that I know I could have eaten, but I
Right.
couldn't because the smell was like
Was so
really getting to me.
overpowering.
I have never in my life been served a cheese that I have not been able to finish, and I will think about that forever.
And so American cheese is fantastic
Yeah.
because it has all of the cheese makers from Europe,
Yeah.
but then also just a little bit like, oh, let's go ahead and get all that dirt out
Yeah.
of there. That's not very good. And also, our cheese caves are owned by the federal government, and that really helps too.
Jesus. Jesus.
Nice.
Thank you.
That one Australian show, like Cat and whatever, she goes, well, here's your statue, Mom. And she goes, what is that? She goes, that's a statue of baby Jesus. And she goes, baby Jesus, Cat, not Jesus, Jesus. And I think about that every time I see Little Baby Bell because she's just skewered a bunch of baby bells into like a edible arrangement. This is so off the mark.
Oh my
They are
God.
so lost, the
Oh, yeah,
listeners.
yeah.
But I'm glad you liked it.
I liked it.
I do it all for you.
Yeah, I know.
So American cheddar cheese is like being exported. They're like, it's not French or English, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, it's fine. You know, it's okay. Because it's 1790s. America just won the American Revolutionary War. Like basically everything you were eating A, at home.
Right.
And B, everything that you're eating is at home is being made at home, right?
Right.
So cheese is truly a cottage industry in the sense that you are like making it in your cottage.
Cottage cheese.
Yes, 100. Yes, correct. With like a cheesecloth and everything.
Love a cottage cheese.
And so there's not this like huge cheese market in the US or globally. I mean, there might be for some really refined cheddars at some like classes of the upper class homes and
Right,
things
yeah.
like that. Like, ooh, like cheese and fruit board or whatever. And those kind of cheeses are specialty enough that you couldn't just make them in your cellar.
Right.
But it's certainly not like how there's just a cheese aisle
Right.
always next to the beer for some reason in America, like here in the United States. Think about the last time you were at a Safeway.
I don't go to Safeway.
Good, but okay.
Only go to King's.
Like perhaps maybe you are buying a little bit of cheese.
But mostly you're making it at home.
Right.
Right.
But God bless capitalism.
Yep.
Said ironically. Because that was all about the change.
Yeah.
In the early 18... Oh, shit. Sorry, I missed my last cue. The last cue was cheddar.
Yes! Oh, thank God.
Because it's a kind of a heavy bag.
I know. I'm like interested in what else could possibly be in
Part
here.
of it is a sweater that I'm
Okay,
using to
yeah.
hide whatever is or is not in here. Okay, sorry. This was when I said America's producing cheddar.
Can I open this?
Yes.
Is this okay?
Bought that specific version because it was like openable, and you can like
there it
reseal
is.
it, and it's already pre-cubed.
I met the person whose family invented this like kind of resealable bag.
You met Sargento?
My father, the inventor of
Ziploc bags?
yeah.
So please appreciate the first cheese America could make, a American cheddar cheese. Now, and I'll tell you this,
love
I
it.
can speak this for a fact, American cheddar cheese in the 1790s did not have the orange hue to it. It was still white at the time. And I can tell you later why I know that.
Yeah, I'm interested because I was just now thinking that
Why is it orange?
yeah, European cheddar cheese is always like white cheddar.
I love cheese so much. This is so
This
good.
is so good. I hope you're not trying to bring this home.
Don't you worry about me right now. I know who we are.
Look at us.
When I looked at you standing in the glow of your fridge eating turkey 30 minutes ago, I was like, it's fate. She's not even ready.
I'm starving.
I have literally never once brought snacks to a podcast ever.
This is the best podcast
and this
episode.
is the second round of cheese I have given you. Okay, so American cheese industry changes radically.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, and then you should have about a 90-second reaction so I can have more cheese.
Okay.
In the early 1850s, New York dairy farmer Jesse Williams was pioneering a few techniques to make the quality of cheese better and more consistent.
Okay.
He was one of the first people in America to combine the dairy milk from several different dairies together and made a uniform cheese product. So
Oh.
beforehand it was your own cows produced your own cheese, which meant the cheese was impacted both by the quality of your milk,
feed and the
Right.
all of that stuff. And
but
the
then
type of cow.
also your quality as a cheesemaker, right? Like both was impacted. It was hard for me to fully verify this, so the story that I'm sharing with you right now comes with a grain of salt. But one of the folklores around Jesse Williams out of Rome, New York, was that his son had just gotten married. Yeah. Was that his son had just gotten married, and they were trying to have grandbabies, or like Jesse wanted grandbabies, and that meant
Right.
his son needed to be better off financially. So
Excellent. Perfect.
So people were willing to buy his cheese at a certain price, but like not his son's. And so he was like, just give me your milk and I'll make all of the cheese and then we can sell
And
it.
then
the
we can
same."
all be together.
And
yeah.
that might have been the start of the American cheese industry.
That's amazing.
I know. It's 1850 and he
Yeah.
makes a cheese factory. They make 100,000 pounds of cheese in their first year alone
Oh my God.
and are immediately successful. They almost renamed the town of Rome, New York after him.
Well, one in Rome, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
Exactly.
what would they have named it? Like Williamstown?
Williamsburg?
Yeah.
So dumb.
yeah.
When you get back into these notes, if you want to read that full story, you're
I
welcome
am
to.
going to.
But it felt very much like this is you have no idea how deep I got into this episode.
What? An episode about cheese? You got deep into it?
Like more research than I've ever done ever in a year and a half of doing this podcast. I've done 3 different gay episodes and a Judy Garland episode. And I still wasn't.
And reality winner.
I know. And it still wasn't this
and
deep.
you're like, but cheese.
It's just I felt like I had to do it justice.
Yeah, this cheddar is really
It's so good.
Really hitting the
It's
spot.
nice and sharp and a little chalky, but it's creamy on the inside.
Yeah.
I promise we're not paid by Big Dairy to like make this episode, but if you are like craving cheese curds right now, we'd recommend Good Times.
Yeah.
Okay. So, 1851, they make 100,000 pounds of cheese and are immediately successful. Now, here's something really cool about Jesse Williams. As news of the Williams family's success spreads, dairymen from all across the country begin to flock to Rome, New York to learn, I know,
It's a wild
Rome,
town
New
name.
York.
Yeah.
I had friends who grew up in the town New Berlin in Nebraska.
What?
The endless little quirks and fascinations of Midwestern
Yeah.
small town culture. I was once in this McDonald's 40 minutes outside of my hometown in the middle of nowhere. Did not tell my parents where we were.
Classic.
Getting McFlurries that took this McDonald's like 30 minutes to prepare. And as we sat down in the booth, the like ceiling tile in the center fell and just shattered. And no one moved quickly to take care of it.
Everyone was like,
we'll get to it. We're perfecting McFlurries. Which we can thank Jesse Williams
it's
for
just some
access
person that's
to.
like super high.
Yes.
Like,
I actually even know why. I can't. If you want to know at the end, ask me and I can explain to you
I'm not gonna remember. I'll try.
why McDonald's ice cream machine is always broken.
It's a conspiracy for sure.
No, I've also done some research into that.
Oh my God.
As a man who's lactose intolerant, I am in there. So, sorry, it's 1851.
Yeah.
People are going to Rome, New York to learn how to make
cheese.
cheese. But like everyone kind of knows how to make cheese, but they want to know is how to make a cheese factory.
Yeah.
That's what they're really interested in.
How do you make a product consistent enough to be successful?
And this now comes from one of the local historical societies. Jesse Williams and his wife answered questions and spread the gospel of cooperative cheese making. Within 15 years, there were 500 cheese factories in New York State alone.
Oh my gosh.
In 1864, Williams' success led to the formation of the New York State Cheesemakers Association, which would then soon after become the American Dairy Association.
Oh my God.
Williams.
I'm sorry, the ADA.
I know. Thank you. Thank you. The American with Disabilities Act or the American Dairy Association.
Which one is it?
I think it's so cool that you're brave enough to say something mean about the ADA.
The Dairy Association.
You have
of course.
no idea how powerful they are. No, you really don't.
Oh God.
You have no idea how powerful the ADA is.
Please don't deprive me of cheese.
God, it's so good.
Sorry if this is like freaking anybody out.
Also, sorry for Maya later for having to cut out all these 10 seconds of me just not saying anything as I eat more cheddar.
It'll be Casey that cuts it out, so that's
Good.
him.
Okay. So here's the really cool thing about Jesse Williams. He doesn't patent a single one of his techniques. So that way American cheese making can spread across the country.
Thank you.
Yes.
That man deserves the world.
Yeah, they
Can we go lay flowers on his grave?
Oh, they did in 1951. They
Can
were
we actually
like,
go lay an edible arrangement on his grave? That feels more appropriate.
I actually think next summer you and I should do like a 10-day trip across the country to a couple of key places.
Yeah.
The Mothman statue.
Yes.
Rome.
No further explanation. Devil's Hole.
I want you to know there's enough locations in this episode on American cheese alone.
Oh,
that
we could just do a cheese tour.
Yeah.
And then we'll end in Tillamook.
I would like to be back. It's a really beautiful place. I kind of came back to the world in Tillamook. That's such a weird reference to my holiday that only you understand. Okay, I need to tell the story, and I just keep eating cheeses instead. Okay, I'm back, and I'm here, and I never left. Okay, never patents any of his ideas. And so,
That's so
1851, he launches the first cheese factory. And then it's not a coincidence that immediately after that, in the decades afterwards, is when some iconic American cheese brands emerge for the first time. Because we now have the ability to manufacture. And that also means we have the ability to market. And there's like a market for cheeses, not just like cottage cheese or whatever, soft cheeses you can make at your house, but like cheeses you can purchase. And so American cheesemakers were inventive, as American inventors usually are, because they were immigrants.
The power of the immigrant.
Yeah, for reals. So many of them were from Europe and happy to replicate the cheeses of the old country. And then they experimented with them. So like Havarti's from Denmark, cheddar from England, which started kind of the first American cheese industry. I'm not going to pronounce it because it's like Swiss, German, French, but like many of the precursors to Swiss cheese, Gouda, all of these are European cheeses that we start to make here. And then we start to experiment to make our own.
Hell yeah.
Like for instance, Swiss cheese, more correctly known as baby Swiss, was invented by immigrants in Greene County, Wisconsin in the 1890s.
Wow.
Colby cheese, also known for its mixture into Colby Jack. Colby cheese was named after the small town in north central Wisconsin where it was developed in 1874. Similar to cheddar, but Colby does not undergo the cheddaring process. It doesn't get aged as long.
I did not know that something was called a cheddaring process.
Because they used to put it in the Cheddar Gorge caves in England.
What is it with cheese and cake?
And with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a bite.
Yeah.
I don't even have a picture of Cheddar Gorge of England because I was so busy exploring
Exploring
other
the
Alps.
world
Yeah.
of American cheese.
Will you say more about American cheese as I eat some right now?
No.
Oh, actually, no, this is really interesting.
Okay.
Because at this time, sorry, this is really good cheese. We are mice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
On a plane.
Go ahead and check out the Alone in a Crowd of Rune episode if you
Yeah,
want to get
yeah,
that reference.
Yep.
Okay, so at this time, we're just calling these cheeses like hard cheese or cheddar cheese or Colby or baby Swiss or whatever. The term American cheese doesn't arrive until the late 1800s / early 1900s. And we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But Colby cheese is different than cheddar cheese because it doesn't go through the cheddaring process.
Is there a difference between Colby and Colby Jack?
Yes.
Oh, there totally is because it's a mixture.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
That was
we're
my
about-
first favorite
And
cheese.
we're about to talk about Jack.
Okay, hell yeah.
100% we are.
Jack.
So this Colby cheese, named after Colby, Wisconsin, it doesn't go through the cheddaring process. So Colby cheese is great because it's not as acidic.
Yeah.
Because it replaces reducing the acidity of the curd by replacing the surrounding whey with water, resulting in a softer,
Oh.
moister, milder cheese that's great for snacking.
Great.
And this is where I need to nice. This is where I need to talk too about like especially my listeners who are in college or just recently out of college. This is going to shock you in your mid to late 20s. So I'm telling it to you right now. Not all cheese melts. And
Yes.
that doesn't feel right.
I did find
understand.
that out the hard way.
Correct.
Mainly with Parmesan
Yes. Okay. So
from Costco.
Parmesan will up one of your dishes 8 times, and then eventually you'll realize it's not you, it's the cheese.
I did it once while I was really drunk
Yeah.
trying to make Casey and I what's the like chicken Alfredo,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so bad.
It's because it's so hard. It's
Yeah.
so crystallized. That's one of the main issues.
Yeah.
It's also why cheddar kind of hit and miss sometimes when it comes to melting. You want a Colby or a Jack.
It's like softer.
Something that's a bit
Less-
moister. Because if it's
Okay,
moister,
yeah.
it's going to pull. But you can then get to the other end of things where Swiss cheese, which is made slightly differently than
Yeah.
Colby, Swiss cheese will melt, but won't like
It'll
dissolve
keep its like
in.
form kind of. Yeah.
Correct. Because of the way the holes in Swiss cheese is because of gas naturally trying to
Right,
escape.
right.
So the larger the holes in the Swiss cheese, the longer it aged.
Whoa.
Like in this section, I
You're
was like,
hitting-
people are learning so much.
You're hitting my love of cheese and my love of science all in one, and I just
Go ahead and take a sip of that wine, which was absolutely not an accident that's what I brought tonight. You come down and I was like, I brought Chardonnay.
yeah.
Before you could be
said
like,
it really fast. I
before
was
you were
like,
like, what do you want to drink? I was like, it's Chardonnay tonight.
Yeah.
We're drinking wine. And then we're going to switch to a Pinot later. Okay, so that's Colby, founded in 1874.
it does give me some peace of mind that we do have at least one cheese now that has been like really made in America.
Oh,
Colby
2.
Jack,
And now
I'm
here's your
assuming.
third one.
Okay.
So first,
Colby.
Baby Swiss, made in America, totally
yeah,
made in
okay,
America.
okay.
Colby, totally made in America.
Okay.
You could argue the cheddar that we know is a distinct
It's very
American
different. Okay.
variety. And then Monterey cheese, also known as Monterey Jack.
I love Monterey.
Monterey Jack is also great because, I mean, we just accept these names as names because we learn them as children.
And we don't
But,
know
like,
why.
Right.
Yeah.
Baby Swiss is a basically Frankenstein version of making cheese that they make in Switzerland, but drastically different. Like Jarlsberg is much more closer to traditional Swiss cheese. There is no Swiss cheese in Switzerland. That's an American tradition.
Oh,
And that's why it's called Swiss cheese.
gotcha. I mean, yeah.
Colby comes from Colby, Wisconsin.
Right.
Monterey Jack cheese comes from
Monterey.
Monterey County,
Yep.
California,
Okay,
and
cool.
the peninsula, 100%.
Nice.
It was first made by Mexican friars, so like Catholic
Nice.
nuns in Monterey, California in the 1800s.
I'm sorry, the idea of Catholic nuns
And priests and monks.
operating a cheese factory
Yes.
is so funny to me.
It's actually because they're not allowed to like have jobs. It's
Yeah.
actually like it was a huge portion of a lot of these monasteries'
how they're
incomes.
making money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
just
like-
it's just never something I would have
It's
thought.
flours and cheese, and also because you're making cheese, you don't
Yeah.
have to then go buy it, and so it's also keeping their costs down.
Oh,
Like it's
that's
literally,
actually genius.
it's literally like their food, and they're like apple.
Yeah.
It's good.
I want to be in that meeting where they're like sharks. I propose that we make our own.
Well, you're a woman, so you wouldn't be. Okay, it is still
That's
a
true.
monastery.
It would be the monks doing that. But I In my head, there's a nun like whispering in the monk's ear that's
But-
like, here's what you gotta do.
So far, you have just accepted the name for what it is. You're like, oh, it's from Monterey.
Yeah.
Jack must be a cheese thing. Girl, it's not.
I mean, I figured.
So Monterey Jack is made from Mexican friars in Monterey, California,
Okay.
and sold by an intrepid entrepreneur
Named Jack.
David Jack.
Nice.
Thus the name Monterey Jack.
So all he did was sell it, and he's like, I'll sell it only if you put my name on there.
This cheese comes from Jack from Monterey. Don't forget who brought it to you.
I hope that there was a really long argument about whether it was Jack Monterey versus Monterey Jack.
Jack Monterey is a stripper name. I don't know. Ladies, welcome to the stage, Jack Monterey. And it's the palest man you have ever seen. Oh my God, is that his kidney?
Yeah. That's so visual, and I love that.
At one point today, I had to look at a kid who's doing an informative speech on human evolution.
Yeah.
And I go, is that a picture of a human spleen? And they said yes. And I go, is it proportional? So is that like the actual size of a human spleen? And they go, no. And I go, so the bigger one is just to prove that it's bigger than is any of this information visually helpful? Or did you get a picture of a spleen
and then get
make
another
it
bigger
and then put it next to each other? They're like, yes. I was like, missed the mark. We're gonna go back to the drawing board on that one. I feel like I'm Meryl Streep's character in The Voters Prada.
I feel like I have told you this.
We're halfway through the paragraph
Oh, I
on
know.
Monterey
Yep.
Jack. Good.
Good.
Tell me to.
My
ahead
friend
and grab two of
Annabelle,
these
I was
things.
gonna like eat some cheese. Great.
100%.
Yeah, my friend Annabelle. Senior year, we had to do like a year-long kind of research project. I guess it was junior year. It was junior year. So the first semester you would pick your topic at the beginning of the first semester. And the first semester you would do either the for or against argument. And then the following semester you would do the opposite argument. So mine was, should college education be free?
Yeah.
Annabelle's was, should the black market be legal?
Oh.
It was a fascinating
Ronald
thing.
Reagan writing this much?
And she had some really good points.
That's actually what's so crazy is like you will see some kids get radicalized.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Through like, I have learned the truth and it's deep. Me in this cheese episode right now.
Me in that research project of if looking into the financials of colleges, don't do it unless you want to get real mad.
Right. That's actually a huge issue that we
Yeah.
have to solve before we
Yeah.
talk about universal
Yeah.
college. Sorry. Because of its Mexican-American origins, Monterey Jack is often used in place of traditional Mexican shredding cheeses in a variety of Tex-Mex recipes and is generally the first choice for flavoring with hot peppers to create spicy snacking cheeses like pepper jack cheese.
Yes.
It's crazy
As an
that they
adult,
kept
I
the
love
Jack
pepper jack
and not
cheese.
the Monterey. And then they were like, pepper. It couldn't even be pepper Monterey Jack. It's just pepper jack
Jack.
cheese. Anyways, that's my third cue.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I love pepper jack cheese so
Pepper
much.
jack cheese is arguably probably one of the best cheeses. Oh my God.
I do obviously have a whole bag of baby bills in here, so let
Yeah,
me know if
I-
you want some baby
I
bills.
figured I'll take my taxes at the end.
Good. Okay, good. Pause for, again, station identification.
AKA cheese identification.
I'm going to do a little toast, too.
Oh yeah. Cheers. Look at
Cheers.
us.
Look at us.
Oh yeah, that's good.
You can tell how Jackie it is with all those peppers.
My uncle's nickname is Jackie.
Oh, now you have something to talk to him about over the holidays. Jackie, have you ever thought about starting cheese?
You'd be really good at it.
Okay.
Not because of your talents.
So last thing, we talked about how not all cheese melts, right? Parmesan, very bad. Swiss, not super cooperative. Cheddar, hit or miss sometimes. You want to go for your Colbys and your Monterey's.
We have a lot of meltable cheeses here.
Oh, yeah, we do, baby.
Under these studio lights that aren't hot, but you know.
Okay, so not to burst your bubble, that was essentially like all of the trigger
Okay.
points. Because I now
I was wondering how much cheese could possibly be in that
I
bag.
do now need to actually talk about American cheese, which is the heart of this episode.
Okay, cool.
But I couldn't not do an American history lesson on cheese.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to make quesadillas, get yourself a pepper jack or a Monterey Jack that you then put some peppers in. And then in 1904, James L. Kraft moves from Canada. Yeah, that name sound familiar?
Yeah.
Especially as you have
The
two
guy-
bites of cheese in your mouth.
guy who-
might not know this one.
The guy who makes my favorite mac and cheese and also the worst actual cheese.
Really glad you said both of the things that
Yeah.
you just said
Okay, good.
for today's episode.
Okay.
And so
Spiral Kraft mac and cheese, by the way. Spiral. That's the only way.
I used to love the little like elbow essentially,
Mm.
but it really upset my stomach.
The spiral is it holds the cheese
Yeah.
onto it, I feel like,
Oh, we
better.
can get all into pasta shapes, but that's not this episode, unfortunately.
Or the shape of SpongeBob. That's
We
the
are
other
about
option.
to do our own salt, fat, acid, heat, but it's just deconstructing pasta.
We're going to upset some, like, Italians.
Probably
Yeah.
because on that episode, it's going to be me biting into hard,
Yeah.
uncooked
Oh,
fettuccine. No, I can
And
tell.
anyway, there's a
the
trigger
whole
point.
grains. Wait, hold on. This was my next note.
Yeah. Just raw pasta.
Okay, so we got all the way to James Kraft. Good. Okay. And I thought this episode was going to be short.
Yeah.
So then in 1904, James L. Kraft moves from Canada to the U.S. and starts selling cheese in Chicago. He has about $60 in his pocket, which is about $2,000 today.
Yeah.
He's 30 years old. No money.
No
No
prospects.
prospects. Girl, he doesn't even know how to make cheese.
Clearly.
He spends his $60 on a horse and a wagon and is essentially a cheese wholesaler. He will go
That's
and buy
wild.
chees and then sell
Sell
it
it
to
to
someone
someone
else
else
on
higher.
a markup. Yes, that's his whole business model. And it works. Because America loves cheese.
It's true. You know what I found out today?
He's the first DoorDash. Go ahead.
So funny. I'm starting to work on a proposal for a project at my office, and it's probably it's the first proposal I've been like this in depth on.
Okay.
And I've known that like my company makes money on me, you know, but today I was working through like the estimate thing, and like I saw how much they actually charge clients per hour for how much I work, and then very quickly did the like calculation of how much I make an hour and was like,
Boss make $1, I make a dime. Welcome to the
Yeah.
revolution, Maya.
no, I've known. It's just like seeing the numbers. I was like,
I told you one time my brother was radicalized by partying in his boss's like
Oh,
party
yeah.
shack downtown
Yes.
once. He was like, I'm killing myself so you can
So
use
you
this
can
space
do this?
12 times a year.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And I was like, Comrade Griffin, listen to Chapel Roan.
yes. Somehow HOTT has something to do with
Always,
yes.
always.
Yep.
So James L. Kraft is 30 when he moves to Chicago from Canada. He's 40 by the time he opens his first cheese factory, or as I said, manufacturing in 1914. So for those of us feeling like I'm too far behind, like I haven't done the big thing that I'm trying to do, literally the man whose last name is Kraft isn't even in cheese until until his 30s, and isn't even like actually owning part of that process until he's 40.
Also, Michelle Yao, I don't know
Yeah.
how to pronounce her last name. She didn't start acting until she was in her 40s.
Yeah,
So like
it's never too late.
never too late to start something.
I know that's a crazy message to get from James L. Kraft, but like,
You know.
but to tell you something else absolutely wild, it's going to really change the way you perceive craft.
Yeah.
And he manages to open up his cheese manufactory at literally the perfect time because in 1914, World War I begins. And you have now a bunch of governments with essentially unlimited budgets who are really concerned about how do they deliver food to places that don't have grocery stores.
Oh, and he's like, I got a wagon.
Right. He not only does he have a wagon,
Yeah.
he also has a way of putting cheese into tins to where they will stay good. Here's the thing about Kraft cheese in general that you're about to learn. The Kraft industry, the whole Kraft brand of foods, isn't world famous because it's like the best cheese out there. Something that we inherently know is true.
Yes.
He is good at the logistics side of things. He figures out a way to keep cheese shelf stable.
Which unfortunately makes it plasticky.
Right. And
Yes.
that's why it's called American cheese. So he puts it into, and we're going to talk about American cheese too.
Yeah.
I'm hoping right now, if you're like, oh, American cheese,
Why is it addicting? Like,
I can push you on your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Oh, there's so much more. All right. Oh, there's so much more.
that's
Okay.
I'm so excited to tell this to my like 5-year-old niece over Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. No, this really actually does feel kind of like just in time for the holidays.
Yeah.
I know we will just miss Thanksgiving, but if you ran out of all your safe topics at Thanksgiving and have to get through Christmas, just talk about American cheese for like literally hours. Because that's what the Thomas household's about to experience. And they don't have to wait for the episode to come out and be like, let me tell you.
Michelle, if you're listening, stop listening now. Just kidding.
I have nothing
obviously.
else to talk to you about. Okay, so Kraft gets its tens all over the place. World War I, super good for its business. All of that's going out really well. And that's how we get processed cheese. He manages to find a way to make it shelf stable.
Yes.
He's basically like, sure. We all love cheese. But how much cheese do I have to take away from cheese before I can make it sellable on the West Coast? And they figure that out. It's actually still almost all entirely dairy products, but it's not specifically cheese.
I actually work in that environment. When I was at Pack Expo last weekend, I've known about like shelf stable milk products, right? There's a couple companies that are really big in packaging that. Like if you look on your Premier protein bottles or your Muscle Milk bottles that are sold on the shelf, like in the room temperature aisle, if you look on the bottom, you'll see one logo for one company that I'm not going to say, but they're pretty global in that sense. I also found out at Pack Expo that there is a step below that level of shelf stable called like ESL or something that's shelf stable just for not as long.
Oh, sure.
Which I thought was wild, but it's packaged kind of the same, not aseptically, but like it's packaged in the same way. It was wild.
I absolutely had a conversation with kids today about shelf stable ranch. And a child was like, what do you mean ranch is mostly dairy? And I was like, girl, what did you think it was?
What? Yeah, what?
A ranch packet is dehydrated milk, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and dill. And then you mix it with heavy whipping cream and let it sit.
Sometimes I'm worried about our next generation.
And she goes, wait, no wonder like ranch always makes me upset. I was allergic. I was afraid I was allergic to ranch. God. Turns out I'm actually just still lactose intolerant, a fact she knew. And what's so funny
there's
too,
an ingredients list.
I'm like having this conversation with a kid that's essentially the distance between you and I.
Yeah.
And in the corner of the room, and it's funny because he's this little sports boy who I hadn't seen a lot of his personality before, but we start talking about ranch and the way this boy turned his whole body around. At one point I looked over.
He has relatives in the Midwest.
Yes, at one point he has stood up and halved the distance between me and the kid I'm having conversations with. And I'm now just like kind of like leaning back and incorporating him into the conversation.
Good for you.
And I'm like, that's why restaurant ranch is better than Hidden Valley Ranch. Because
it's made fresh.
Right, but they can also then use a refrigerator to keep it stable, but Hidden Valley Ranch has to be stable at room temperature, and that's why it doesn't taste as good. He's like, yeah. And I was like, why do you know this, child?
Yeah.
You're 14 years old and ironically wearing like hunting gear right now.
Have you watched Doctor Who?
No.
Okay. Well, for those of you who have, it reminds me of the Weeping Angels. There's this like a species of like monster in Doctor Who that look like statues of angels that are like crying. Like they cover their face. But whenever no human eyes are looking at them, they become sentient and living. So if you blink, like it'll be standing all the way over there, and you blink, and it'll be right here.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, but that's what.
But it was about ranch.
Yeah. Bring up ranch, and this kid's like.
Okay, so we're about to start talking a lot about processed cheese, but before I do, there's one last thing I need to tell you about James L. Kraft, and it was I omitted some really funny side bits that like try to keep the semblance of a story, because as a reminder, we are talking about cheese the government keeps buried underground in secret government facilities.
That's right.
I have fascinated her. I have fascinated her with cheese.
With several pieces of cheese.
I love how much you realize you've been gooped this entire time.
Grant gave me a baby bill, and I was like, tell me anything.
Whatever you want. I'm here. I'm yours. Okay.
My husband's sleeping upstairs, but that doesn't matter.
So before we get back to like the topic, James, I have to read this out loud.
Okay.
James L. Kraft, in addition to loving logistics and shelf-stable dairy products, also loved one other thing, making his own jewelry. You understand why I couldn't not keep
Yeah,
this.
what? Yeah, no.
He
What?
would find unpolished jade on the side of the road, turn it into oftentimes jewel like rings, and then give those rings to like outstanding employees. And those craft jade rings oftentimes became family heirlooms.
Wait, that's kind of endearing.
The man who made instant mac and cheese, loved by all, not a single person hasn't loved instant mac and cheese, also made the rings several people got married with.
When you said jewelry, I thought elbow like noodle necklaces.
Like just turquoise chunky Santa Fe necklace.
It's like, was he putting raw noodles on string?
No, he was a weird guy who would come home and like polish stones and set them into gold bands and
That's
give
actually
them to
just
employees.
like kind of cute.
I know, but like very weird.
Yeah.
This man was served as president of Kraft until the day he
Oh
died.
my God.
At like the age of like 78.
Is his body frozen somewhere? Is his body down in that cave?
He has to watch all the cheese. Kraft is down in that cave.
Yeah.
But not the man.
Okay. I was like, I mean, yes.
Okay. Oh, this is funny. I even wrote it in. Right now, you might be thinking, this is all well and good, but I was promised secret U.S. government facility
Yes,
cheese
yes.
caves, and so far, all I have received is a history lesson.
I mean, it's Grant's episode. I don't know what you wanted.
To that, I say, patience. The journey is unexpected. Anyways, Maya, here's some cheese.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been fascinated.
Do you want another baby bell before I move on, or?
I think I'm fine.
Okay.
I just had an idea for a story that I'm writing down.
So we're going to jump now from 1914 and the foundation of the Kraft Cheese Company
Okay.
and their shelf-stable cheese. We're going to jump now to the 1970s.
Okay.
Still with me?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. 1914 to 1970s.
Yes. It's actually a pretty good time for American agriculture, except, of course, for the Great Depression smack dab in the middle. But other than that, pretty
Yeah,
solid time
yeah,
for American
yeah.
agriculture. And it changes in the 70s. So the Carter administration unfortunately inherited like a lot of, this is now my own personal opinion, but I feel like I could find the sources to back it
Yeah.
up. President Carter was a good man who inherited a lot of problems that were actually like kind of systemic that America hadn't really addressed beforehand
Fair,
and
yeah.
was like now grappling with.
Yeah.
And I think he did the best that he could.
With what he had.
Right. And then Reagan came in and was like, well, what if we destroyed every American institution that existed? And now we live in the country we do today.
I recently saw the electoral map of when he was elected.
Isn't it crazy?
I was like, I'm sorry, what? Wasn't it just Wisconsin? Or
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
Minnesota and Washington, D.C. But the
Oh,
other
yeah,
crazy
Minnesota,
thing is he won every single state with like 53% of the vote. Like it's super red, but it's like
Yeah.
it wasn't like
Oh, it
a
was, like, really
popular
close.
vote. I mean, relatively speaking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So in the
Huh.
1970s, you start to have a couple of, there's like the energy crisis of the 1970s where there's like run on
Yeah.
gas stations and people are rationing gas.
Right.
There's a couple of different like affordability issues that happened during the 70s.
Which came first, the petroleum reserve or the cheese reserve?
Petroleum. But I am like checking my brain for that real quick. Petroleum reserve. The economy isn't doing well, and President Carter had promised to help stabilize the dairy industry. Dairy farmers want a constant price for the milk, thus making their business sounder and more predictable. They're
Right.
like, if I make milk for $1, I want to guarantee I can sell it for $1.25 and like pay the difference, right? I can't make milk for $1 if I might be forced to sell it for 75 cents.
Right,
For like basic table math.
right,
there.
right.
So President Carter introduces a program that we now call the Dairy Product Price Support Program. The system works pretty simply. The government, the federal government,
Right.
promises to keep dairy products selling at a price that ensures that the farmers can make a profit.
Okay.
They're like, we promise that dairy products will sell at a price that you can.
Seems fair.
Right, 100%. Called the Dairy Product Parity Price Index. I'm going to say that again. Dairy Product Parity
Parity?
Price Index.
Why parody? It doesn't
Because
have
it's
another meaning
trying
that
to
I don't
keep,
understand.
no, it's just trying to keep a balance. Like it's like the parity is like we're trying to like make sure that you have like this parity across the industry. Because like if-
parity.
yeah, not parity as in
Yeah, I was like, the
Parity.
words you're. I must be stupid.
it's the
Okay,
remnants of
parity.
my Midwestern accent.
Okay.
I get real soft on T's a lot of times.
I do too. I
Yeah.
just didn't recognize it.
And if the price of dairy products drops on that index, the mechanism that kicks in
Mm-hmm.
is that the government just starts buying milk. Wow. I'm so glad you find that as funny as you do. You have no idea the consequences of that action.
Someone at the White House goes to the grocery store and sees the price of milk and goes,
God damn it.
shit.
Still a thing USDA experiences today, by the way.
That's so funny. It just feels like such a small thing that is going to have such a big impact.
Well, it's
for
the
like
Dairy Product Parity Price
no
Index.
reason.
I'm putting now some Pinot Noir in mine, so
Okay,
I'm giving you
perfect,
control
yeah.
of the Chardonnay.
Okay, excellent.
Again, so glad you find it funny. Because the system really does work in a pretty simple way.
Okay.
If dairy products dip below a certain price, the federal government will buy, I say milk, it was to get a laugh, obviously.
Yeah, just any dairy product.
Well, actually, specifically not milk. You're going to need to process it and turn it into something.
Right, so something that's shelf stable.
And, well, not even necessarily shelf stable, just something that they can fucking store.
And like make sure it's okay.
And so
at
they get a lot of butter. They get a lot of, because even cold milk will go bad pretty soon.
Yes.
So they get a lot of butter. They actually convert a lot of it into powdered milk.
Oh, okay.
And they get a lot of shelf-stabilized American cheese. It's actually the guidelines they release. Let me explain, though. The program is supposed to be a beautiful capitalist moment, right?
Yeah.
Demand is what drives price. And the government will help drive demand, thus protecting dairy farmers. Not up all the time, just when the price
enough.
of dairy is
Yeah.
too much. But shocking, capitalism didn't work.
What?
Okay, so dairy farmers are now guaranteed a profit on the milk that they produce. And so they fucking crank that bad boy up and make as much milk
As they can.
as humanly possible.
In order to like hit that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which for America in the 1980s or late 1970s, early 1980s, turns out to be way too much milk. Like America today might be able to handle it, but Americans at the time are consuming literally half as much dairy as they are today.
Right.
And the population of young people in America at this moment is actually decreasing because baby boomers see a big boom in babies, but then the next generation is Gen X, is smaller. And so with children being the main drinkers of milk,
They don't need as much.
Right. They don't need as much and they're not eating as much now. So by the time Carter leaves office in 1980, let me get this. The government is buying 1 in every 4 pounds of cheddar cheese.
Oh my God.
And then the second issue.
That's so much cheese.
Right. It's literally 25% of all cheese. And America is like, how much cheese can we make?
I understand that it's like they probably have some like shipper supplier relation that they're like just getting it shipped to like a certain location. But in my head, some poor intern is
It's just in their office. That's the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want you milking morning, noon, and night. You're never not milking out there. Let's find out how. But here's the funny thing is about capitalism in general.
That's what's gonna happen.
Right. Not only is that what's going to happen, but actually now, right, when Reagan starts to take office, the government is now stuck with this cheese because I need you to remember something. They have to buy this cheese.
They have no mechanism to sell it.
Right, because as soon as they introduce it on the market, they are increasing the supply of cheese, thus decreasing the demand.
Which means they're gonna have to buy more.
They are in a cheese purchasing death spiral.
They're in a catch-22 of cheese. Oh my God.
I told you, I promised you secret government facilities full of billions of dollars of cheese, and I have managed to get us there pretty flawlessly. I'm going to take a butter cheddar for that, which is not American cheese.
You've earned it.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Okay. So the last couple of bites have been pepper jack. So to go back to a cheddar, that like richness, the sharpness,
to try it again.
after like a subtle softy of Monterey Jack. We're having a great time.
I'm having a really good time.
Switch over to red wine. Like I'm in a mischievous mood right now. Okay, so enter President Reagan, who is in a dairy catch-22.
Yeah, he's like, I can't sell it because I then have to buy it.
Right, I have to buy it back.
Yeah.
So President Reagan, famous hater of poor people and gay people, but that's not related to the story right now.
True.
Infamous for his horrific and classist descriptions of people who use government support programs. A man who corrupted many U.S. programs and institutions. I have a degree in history education and have never...
Wait, what?
I know. I never talk about it. But I have refused to retain how to spell his name correctly because it's a lot of vowels in his name. It's like Reagan.
Reagan.
Right. It's the name that if you would see it like in some, and I know there's some people out there whose first name is Reagan. Much love to you. I'm sure you're a good person. But if you were to see his name spelled in a fantasy book, you'd call it Reagan or something like that. Regan. And instead he's Reagan. So he's famous for his destruction of institutions and government programs. I never learned how to spell his name. But President Reagan, well, he's got milk. Thanks.
Nice.
Too much of it, in fact. And so for his solution, we turn to
God milk.
Cornell University professor Andrew Novakovich. And he has this to say about Reagan's solution.
Okay.
People think food assistant programs were developed to help poor people. And sure, that is nice.
Yeah.
But almost all major food assistant programs were ideas that came from agriculture.
Yeah.
Because we had too much of something.
Product, and they needed to sell it.
Right.
Get rid of it.
They're going to flood the market with this cheese, but specifically to demographics that are otherwise not
Going
buying
to buy
it.
Gotcha.
They are now going to be giving away government cheese. Right. Something you didn't realize you knew. Something you knew about. Reagan had to do because Carter bought too much cheese. And the Congress passed a law requiring him to keep purchasing cheese. And so now they're like, what do we do with all this cheese?
Oh, shit.
Okay. So, nicknamed government cheese, the Reagan administration will distribute 500 million with a B.
That's insane.
500 million pounds of cheese to everybody. Food banks, those on food assistance. So you would like get it as part of your, we call it SNAP now, like Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. You would get it as part of your, like, you'd get your like food stamps and a block of cheese. And then if you went to a food bank, another block of cheese.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Where else did we put it? It's a list. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Food banks, those on food assistance, literally anyone over the age of 60. If you wanted a free block of cheese every month from the government and were 60 or older, it came with Social Security.
I want to be 60 during Reagan administration.
Retirement homes. They talk about how
wild.
USDA representatives would just walk up to retirement homes and be like, do you want several boxes of government cheese? And when they couldn't get Americans to eat enough of it, they enrolled the government cheese into the U.S. Assistance and International Development Program, Food for Peace, and distributed it to developing countries across the world.
They're like, shit.
They were like, find me a country that hasn't bought a single pounce of American Gouda, and you give them 100 cc's of this government cheese.
Understanding that they have no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, but it's shelf stabilized because of a process that James L. Kraft came up with in between jade polishings. And this is why everyone's like, oh, history's so boring. History's so... No, history's the story of weird people in crazy or wild situations just trying to figure their way out.
Doing things that are going to affect your life.
Yes. Also, by the way... The U.S. Food for Peace program was started first by the Kennedy administration as like a goodwill initiative.
Yeah.
And that was good. And I do think millions of people, perhaps even billions at this point, because it's a 70-year-old program, like have been benefited by this system. But it's also so clearly a release valve for the U.S. government to get rid of agricultural products. Like cheese, other things too, but like cheese to like maintain stable
and
prices.
Then more cheese.
Correct. But also like some wheat, some grains, things like that. Yeah. What's extra funny too is Jimmy Carter was so dedicated to fighting communism that he stopped sending grain to the Soviet Union in 1979. Because in 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan.
Right.
So that was good on a principled standpoint.
Yeah.
And you would think Americans conservatives, many of whom were farmers, would support that. But it actually crashed the entire farm economy.
Right.
Which then meant he had to buy more cheese. And that
somehow everything results, regardless of what product, results insulted him buying cheese.
Have you seen the Federal Reserve interest rates? We're going to buy another 100 million pounds of cheese before Friday if we're going to keep Wisconsin. So literally crashes the farm economy on like a principled stance against communism, has to buy more cheese, and then extra funny, Reagan has to literally give away cheese.
Despite hating poor people.
And has to start selling grain back to the Soviet Union despite hating communism because the cheese flow won't stop until the farm economy recovers.
This is the kind of petty shit I fucking love. Oh my God.
Okay, so we're literally giving it away to every single person we can think of. And this government cheese does look a lot like Kraft American cheese. And that is because the U.S. government wants to keep this government cheese shelf stable,
right,
so it can be shipped all over. But this is why people assume government cheese and American cheese are the same thing. But it's like assuming Colby Jack and Monterey Jack are the same.
Right.
How passe.
The only thing that's common is Jack, because he sold it to you.
100%. Jack of all trades, Ronald Reagan.
Nice. Oh my God.
So I'm enjoying my American Twitter right now. Private selection, only at Kroger's. So Reagan creates government cheese and distributes it to the very people he oftentimes criticized for seeking help from the government they pay taxes to.
Right.
Extra ironically is that the government cheese only exists because Reagan, the zero regulations, zero handouts, pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of president, was buying millions of dollars of milk from the dairy farmers through a government program that smacks an awful lot like socialism.
Yes.
We were guaranteeing an income. We were, in fact, guaranteeing a universal basic income for American farmers, which was then producing a product we had to give to people on food assistance. Ronald Reagan, this is not a term I use, but this is where the term comes from. Ronald Reagan oversees the period where the horrific and harmful stereotype of a welfare queen emerges.
Right, okay.
Like that is in large part because of his discourse and rhetoric around these people. And because he's busy giving out government assistance to farmers, he then has to give out government cheese to the people he doesn't like.
I love that.
So let's talk about the legacy of government cheese for a second.
Yes.
Despite Reagan's overall attitude, personality, policies, and general vileness.
Tell them how you really feel, Grant.
There were times where I was like, oh, I'm cooking right now. One of the books I read, the like third book in a row in which one of the characters is trying to become a sommelier.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, so tired of this trope. Like it was fun the first time.
Yeah.
Anyways, he always, when he spits his wine out, he spits it out into a bucket that has a picture of Ronald Reagan.
Nice.
And I was like, this is
Oh,
good.
that's good.
I know, right? I was like, this is world building.
We need a dartboard with Ronald Reagan's face on it.
I think there's other people we would put on the dartboard as well. But
Well, yeah. We could start with Ronald.
yeah, gets Jake Paul.
I'm waiting. So Monet I just pulled her into my lap, and I am just waiting for her to. Oh, she just saw the cheese. Okay.
Oh, she's seen the cheese the whole time. I don't even know if she knows she's in your lap right now.
She's usually a lot more aggressive about it, about her inclination of the cheese. So we'll.
This is also where I will say, if you guys are listening and you're like, is the audio sounding weird? Are they sounding differently? We are talking like chipmunks, just cubes of cheese piled in our cheeks as we like say something and then
if we sound really weird to you though, check to see if you're on 0.05 or point like 1.5, because I'm not fielding any more comments of they sound weird.
If it's on Spotify, I'm sorry, but it is you.
Spotify's just weird. Restart the app. It does it to me too.
If it sounds weird, we catch it pretty early on and we'll fix the audio.
I'll fix it, yeah.
Okay, so there is a kernel of truth. Shout out to you. In all of this.
Yanyo Malik somewhere screaming.
Probably, but it's also a really nice way to like kind of summarize a point on this podcast.
Yeah, it is.
Because this cheese, this government cheese, was legitimately helpful to families in need.
Yeah.
I mean, dairy products are already full of calories, and this was 100% dairy product, essentially. And so it was actually full of kind of the nutrients that if you are experiencing hunger, was really valuable.
Helps, yeah.
For this next section, I'm going to digress to author Bobby Dempsey and her article, The Tyranny and Comfort of Government Cheese.
That is such a good title.
Oh, I know. And it was also a really good article.
Yeah.
These are just a couple of key little tidbits that I've enjoyed out of it. And I wanted to share it.
Right.
To, like, talk about this government cheese, which, like, we made fun of Reagan and his
Yes.
hypocrisy. And, like, oh my God, I kind of forgot that I knew government cheese existed. And I
Yes.
can't believe it's because we're trying to stay, all of these
Yeah, yeah,
things. Also, my grad school program would be thrilled that I'm citing my sources right now. I
I'm
got
so
a 90%
proud.
on my last assignment because I forgot to cite my sources.
Wow.
But that's only because I didn't have any. I wrote up 3 pages on my opinion based loosely off of our class lectures, and I got a 90% on it.
And if you're one of his professors, no, you're
No,
not.
because I'm actually so fine with that bargain. I need to maintain a B. Okay, so here's the article. If you grew up poor in the 80s, like I did, you couldn't escape it. The telltale brick-shaped carton encasing a day-glow orange matter that provided equal parts sustenance and humiliation.
Yes.
Government cheese. Perhaps the intent was altruistic, but like most poor kids, I was way too cynical for my age. I assumed they were just trying to kill us all off with enough excessive fat and cholesterol to give us heart attacks before we hit high school.
Woof.
Not a bad attitude towards authority.
Yeah. Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
listen, not the truth as we've discovered so far, but also not a bad stance to take, and I can't fault you for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In between our precious twice monthly visits to the grocery store, we were kept alive by eating whatever we could get our hands on. Often, that meant government surplus items, including items in addition to cheese, like butter, flour, powdered milk, and a few other items. The specific offerings of those government giveaway programs depended on the month and which program or agency was handling it.
Right.
But the one thing you could count on always was the 5-pound block of shelf-stable orange cheese
£5?
in the rectangular box with USDA stamps all over it.
Wow.
5-pound
5
block.
pounds
Yeah.
is insane.
It seems like a lot. It's like roughly the size of a box of regular-sized Velveeta cheese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a lot. But
Right.
yeah. That makes
And
sense.
like if you're a family of
Yeah.
5,
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
While the taste has been described in many ways, the general consensus is that it could best be categorized as a sort of mild cheddar. Many would have compared it to a Velveeta, or at least the poor man's Velveeta.
Right.
In the school
Which is
cafeteria,
a wild thing to have to say.
right?
Yeah.
All of this is what
Yeah.
Velveeta is actually shockingly expensive. I mean,
Really?
I guess yeah. Oh,
Interesting.
I for the coming holidays when
Yeah.
we have them as a friend group, I
Right.
will bring my family's version of macaroni corn casserole, which
Ooh.
features prominently Velveeta because of its meltiness.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Back to the article. This is the last section.
Okay.
In the school cafeteria, or when a friend came over and peered into the fridge, the cheese was a source of infinite shame, a clear indicator of our financial situation. But when no one else was watching, my siblings and I liked the cheese, or at least learned
Aw.
to tolerate it.
Yeah.
My younger brother was probably the biggest fan, believing then and still now that it made the best grilled cheese sandwiches.
I believe it.
Yeah, I do too.
Especially if it's a Velveeta consistency.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I knew we'd turn the corner.
Yeah.
We once made a song about what we often called government cheese, sung to the Beatles song Let It Be.
Oh.
Turns out we were ahead of our time musically. This was years before Kendrick Lamar mentioned government cheese in his song
Yeah.
Money Trees.
Yeah.
So we had this huge surplus because we are giving farm subsidies. And while
Right.
Reagan is a bastard, sorry, don't be shocked. The cheese is legitimately a helpful nutritional component to kids' meals, specifically during the 80s when they are desperate to get rid of all
Right,
this cheese.
yeah.
They're obviously also trying to solve the like fire hose of dairy
Yes,
products
yes.
coming in. Like they are working to address that, and they're also trying to clear
All the dairy producers that are like, let it rain.
Correct. More money, more cheese, fewer problems for me. So bad, so dumb. But I did want to take 1 second to talk about farm subsidies. And I know you're like, Grant, you're the espresso martini, queer,
gosh.
history teacher, city guy, whatever. I am rural adjacent, at least in my past life when I was a kid growing up in Nebraska. And I have a lot of really lovely people in my life who are farmers. And I want to say this about farm subsidies. They're good farming is an unstable industry and can't be perfectly compared to, say, a coffee shop.
Yes.
Farmers make their entire year's salary in essentially the span of 2 months. Weather can have your income on one day. Like I remember watching a hailstorm on Father's Day, which comes in early June, completely ruined basically the rest of the year for my uncles when we were gathered for Father's Day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't appreciate this about farm subsidies, especially the people that we, like the circles that we run in. There are farm subsidies that encourage farmers not to plant seeds in a field in a given season. And that is an ecological approach to avoiding the Dust Bowl.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're like
to allow the ground to like
right to like stabilize because all that activity does kick up dust and stuff. It
become
allows
fertile again.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly as well. And also, farmers are like caretakers for the land, but it's like you have this patch of land that you could make money on and you have bills to pay.
Right.
And it's hard not to then do it for that reason, especially when it's like, in theory, it could cause environmental damages.
Right.
So the government's like, here's
pay
some
you
money
to
that you
not-
would have.
yeah.
Exactly. That's good. If you're an environmentalist, farm subsidies are good. You could absolutely be mad at the hypocrisy of farmers
Yeah.
accepting farm subsidies and then voting to close down government programs.
Ha ha ha.
Except, of course, obviously dairy farmers. Who continue to elect Democrats in Wisconsin.
Hell
Please
yeah.
keep that
Yeah.
up. I will eat your cheese.
Truly. Colby is now my favorite cheese.
You can like Swiss too. It's from just south of Madison.
Perfect.
Say one more word so I can shoot the rest of the cheese.
My dear friend Alexandra is from Wisconsin, and I'm gonna have to talk to her about cheeses now.
Okay. Thank you for that option.
You're welcome.
I'll wash this down with some
Yeah.
Pinot.
Monet
It's
is
been
trying
ringing the
to
last
be
few days.
really, really subtle.
She's been
about-
so good though so far.
I've
I
taught
know
her.
she's shaking, but she's been so good.
She's not shaking.
So every time she sees cheeses, I see the devil overtake her
Oh.
for half a second.
I've taught her that she gets cheese when I'm done. She gets the last piece of cheese. And so she's learned to be patient.
When is Casey going to learn that lesson?
I don't know.
Okay. And so the government in the 1980s gave away a ton of free government cheese and other dairy products to people. This seriously warped perceptions of American cheese, which is also shelf-stable
Right.
and meltable, and the foundation of the Kraft Food Company was built on. But it also created a new problem. The government does not want to own that much cheese.
What?
The government is required by law to buy that much cheese if the price for dairy product dips. So,
So funny.
how does a government save itself from having to buy millions of pounds of cheese, which is apparently its worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Well, the government does so by asking Americans one simple question.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Maya,
Got milk?
got milk?
Oh, I'm so proud of myself.
It's all
Coming
connected
together.
All those posters you
Yeah.
saw as a kid was so that way the federal government
It
didn't
sudden-
have to
it
buy dairy
suddenly adds
products
up. Yeah.
because of a law we passed in the
Yeah.
1960s that required us to respect the Dairy Price Product Parity Index, which is part of the Dairy Product Supplement Program.
The marketing of that Got Milk campaign is ingenious.
I'm so glad you said that because that's the next section
Yeah.
of our episode. Okay, so to solve agricultural surplus, which drives down the price, without getting into land management, which is for some reason apparently communism, the government, starting in the 80s, starts to employ something called check-off programs. Basically, here's how it works. It started in the 1930s with citrus growers in Florida, and then during the 1980s, they really take off. And it's really, really simple. If you produce an agricultural product, you're paying a truthfully very small tax on that product. That tax then goes into a check-off program that focuses on like product development, research, and advertisement.
Yep, there it is.
And that little tax money, because there's no like one like beef industry, right? Like if there's the beef industry and there's like people who sell it, but there's a lot of like consumer, purchaser, producer, right? It's like, again, it's not like
Yeah.
a coffee shop or something. Agriculture is this weird business.
Right.
And so you run these checkoff programs whose goal is entirely to drive demand for certain agricultural products. You know the Got Milk campaign.
Yeah.
But the checkoff programs that take off in the 80s and 90s actually produce a bunch of what is now very famous American sayings.
Really?
Do you want to take a guess as to what any of them
I
are?
don't think I know.
So they're going to go from obscure to more obvious.
Okay.
Okay. So the first Chekhov slogan of the 80s that had the first success that everything then took off under, the incredible edible egg. Eat more eggs, folks. Listen, I didn't go down.
Incredible edible.
I didn't go down the rabbit hole because I really was afraid what the answer might be.
Yeah.
There's a chance deviled eggs are a result of the incredible edible egg because deviled eggs
That
are
would
just
make so much sense.
it's just
though.
eggs with mayonnaise, which is
And
egg.
more egg.
And so it's egg
Yeah.
with egg.
Yeah.
It is. It's like how do we get
And
more?
like paprika for some
Right.
reason.
A little bit of mustard, but only if they're interested.
Yeah.
Sweet or savory.
Yeah.
Like they managed to get more egg into egg, and that feels like the incredible edible egg.
That's wild.
Next, pork. The other white meat. Have you heard that?
No.
Pork's lean. It's like chicken, but chicken's for girls. In the 80s and 90s was all about gender norms.
Yeah, my family wasn't big into pork growing up.
Well, maybe they were into this. The final one, the most obvious one, beef.
It's what's for dinner.
Exactly.
Are you serious?
A Chekhov program funded the same way Got Milk was funded. Mm-hmm. Aren't you learning so much in this episode? Isn't that kind of crazy? I learned so much putting this episode
Why do I
together.
associate beef, it's what's for dinner, with we got the meats?
Good. I mean, again,
It
probably.
doesn't make sense.
I'm going to hold your hand when I tell you. Oh, she thought it was cheese.
Monet said, for me, now, yes.
During the 2008 financial crisis, the U.S. government gave millions of pounds of cheese to Domino's. And so when they ran an extra cheesy cheese special, it was the U.S. government getting rid of the cheese they had legally to buy, and Domino's riding out the financial crisis.
That's so funny.
So Arby's could very well be a beef
yeah.
thing. I didn't have the time to look into it.
Are their sandwiches even beef?
Yeah, it's roast beef.
Okay, it's roast beef. That's
Now
what
the
I
real
was
question
like,
is Arby's itself a Chekhov program?
Yeah.
Is Arby's is the reason why Arby's is still around is because it's funded by taxpayer running on beef.
This is the conspiracy
I
theory.
just kind of kept digging, and I just had to kind of keep getting deeper and,
and then
deeper.
you had to
into
take a sharp left out of that particular rabbit hole.
Listen, when Maya was texting me earlier today being like, recording tonight? I was like, yeah, definitely 7. And I know it's only the difference between 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But whenever I'm like 6:30 sounds great, I'm like, I'm locked in.
Yeah.
And whenever I say 7 p.m., it's like I am still kind of pulling it together. It was me closing tabs that I wasn't going to
Yes.
have time to, or like,
No,
I
I
got
get
the
it.
heart
I've
of
done
it.
that,
Oh,
and-
I know.
Yeah.
You and I have both like,
There have
'cause-
been times where Grant has come over and I'm like, don't look at my screen.
and I was like, was it gonna? That's a wild response. You know I want my screen time down.
Yeah.
Because there gets an inflection moment where you have so many tabs opened up and none of them are the headline of the article.
Yes, yeah.
They're all focused on the paragraph that you really like.
Yeah.
And then it sparked an idea to try to connect it together.
And then you have to source that from
Right,
somewhere else.
right.
And then you're Googling like weird phrases that
And you-
Cookies is never going to forget.
And you know I'm not a person that keeps multiple tabs open.
Yeah.
I try to clear my inbox before the end of Friday every
That's
week, right?
an insane thing to
And
do.
so whenever I get to the accordion of the research,
Yeah.
I know I'm in the heart of it. But then when it starts to compress back down as you like close
Yeah,
off
close
loops,
things,
as
yeah.
things kind of come together, I always feel a lot better.
I feel that.
So beef, it's what's for dinner.
That's wild.
Pork, the other white meat. The incredible edible egg. All of these Got Milk are all Chekhov programs
Okay.
that essentially the government is making happen so that way they don't have to buy the products
Yeah.
that these things are trying to sell.
That's so funny.
So, want to guess what Big Dairy's Chekhov program was called?
No. What?
Milk Pep. What the
No.
And they were the ones behind all the pictures of celebrities with milk mustaches. I want you to, this one from Britney Spears,
Oh, it's so good.
floating right here.
I need to take more marketing courses because stuff like this is so fascinating to me. Like, you don't realize what good marketing looks like until someone points it out. Like,
Right.
I got down this rabbit hole of Sabrina Carpenter recently.
Is that what your episode's about?
No.
Pop
no.
stars under 5 foot. Very
Down
below, I get it.
Very below. Sabrina Carpenter's branding with this like new phase kind of Sabrina Carpenter starting kind of with espresso and like the whole baby doll, like you can see a palette of colors now and like associate it with Sabrina Carpenter and her branding as being like a shameless flirt and like the platform heels and the hearts and everything. Like whoever is on her like image is fucking on it.
There's a couple times where I'm afraid she's getting close to Katy Perry 2011 territory.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's been so long since we've had an unabashed heterosexual pop diva running the show.
I
love my Billie Eilish. I love my Chaperone, right? Give me a
They're
queer
never
crisis.
going to end up in
pink
Katy Perry's shoes.
Right.
Sabrina Carpenter, I feel like the Disney is going to keep her out of
a little bit,
Katy Perry's.
I think she's riding the line really well. So
she
it's all
really
about
is.
good marketing.
It's so good.
This Britney Spears commercial from Milk Pep. And it's so funny to see them because they get all these famous actors who they then like paint a white mustache on.
It's clearly like makeup. Like it's not milk.
Right. And they're all funny too because every single one of the ads, because this is the 90s, is like the celebrity talking about milk, but like in the voice of the character they're kind of famous for.
Yeah.
So there's a Phoebe and Rachel's from Friends.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's like they're both very weird and strange, but like then you remember that they're being Rachel and Phoebe from Friends. Not Jennifer Aniston and
Lisa Kudrow.
Yes.
I'm hitting that area
You are.
where
You're
the download's happening.
You're getting to your age of knowing, your gay age of knowing. And it's so funny. In this Britney Spears ad, though, they tell American women that they need to drink 4 glasses of milk a day.
The water industry could never.
Exactly. All the anti-soda terminology from the 1990s. I mean, soda was bad.
Right,
But it was basically milk, the milk industry, Milk Pep was...
That's such a bad name.
Correct. Milk Pep was looking at things and they were like, people believe that milk is good for you. So when we advertise that milk is good for you, we're actually only repeating what they know and we're not breaking through. They like drinking soda because it's soda.
Yeah.
Pop, as my people call it.
Yes.
We need to change. We need to make it cool, edgy, and remind them that not only is it good for you, but that you actually secretly remember liking drinking milk.
Right,
And so that's what all of these things are for too. But then they're like, and don't forget to drink 4 glasses a day. So it's literally a poster of Britney Spears, and she's like, once I'm done with this one, hit me, baby, one more time. Did you know women only like need 4 glasses of milk a day?
That's so funny.
So after I finish the first one, I'm going for 3 more. And it's like, Britney, no. Oh my God. Do you know what's going to happen to your skin if you even finish that 1 glass of milk, let alone 4?
It'll be fine, I can attest. Also, the 90s was such a good time to run this because that's especially running women as like the models for this because like the female like self-image was so prominent that women are judging women like inherently, almost instantly. So you're looking for their flaws and stuff like out of spite or just because that's what you're trained to do. And so your eye is immediately drawn to the fact that they have a mustache. I can't get it's one of my favorite ad campaigns.
Jennifer Aniston and Lisa Kudrow's campaign was encouraging women to buy and drink skim milk. All the great calcium from milk without any of the fat.
Yeah.
Crazy that we like have body issues in America today.
That's literally insane when they were like, you can't have more than 5 almonds.
7 if it's been a Friday.
But only have 4 glasses of milk.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe this is the new diet trend because I don't know if I'd ever be hungry if I was averaging 4 glasses of milk a day.
That is fair.
If I come back on Monday and I'm just puffy and I tell you I'm on a juice cleanse,
it's milk.
I'm trying to average 4 glasses of milk a day.
That's just also so much milk. Like you're going through multiple gallons of milk a week.
I love you and I
week.
being on this page, but I am actually right now almost desperate to call Jacob and Lydia to find out how much milk they average a week. Because if anyone in my life does it, it's them. Have we?
Yeah, when Jacob was on, I think it might have been on the Patreon, you accused them of drinking milk by itself or something. Like, we were playing that game and it was like drinking milk is appropriate or inappropriate. Or like,
I don't know, like lawfully bad, inappropriate.
Yeah, and Jacob got really offended because he was like, Lydia buys milk for baking.
Right, all the time.
And then I am forced to then drink it. It's never a choice for him.
Jacob is our leanest friend.
If anyone you should be looking at who's going to drink a lot of milk, it is me. I am the only one in my entire circle of friends that I know that still drinks milk. Don't come at me, listener.
Here's the thing. I think this would actually be so funny.
Yeah.
If we took all of the messaging from the Got Milk
Yes.
1990s campaign
Yeah.
and just started to say it around Tyler and see if he adopted it or not. If you were like, yeah, no, I read this thing like
That's
I
a
need
really
4 glasses
good
of milk a day.
Social experiment.
Yeah, there's this picture of Michael Jordan from one of the Got Milk campaigns,
that one's good.
and it basically like vaguely suggests that milk makes you taller, but they
don't
can prove it in
explicitly say
court.
it.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
They never explicitly say milk makes you
love
taller.
that.
Right. It was so good, and I was like, oh, I gotta keep a story running here for a little bit. We could do the same thing to Tyler, I think.
I think so.
Makes you faster.
In The Big Bang Theory, there's like that whole.
Sorry.
No, this is you. We can continue after this, but there's this whole thing
No,
for
I just
like.
wasn't expecting you to say the Big Bang
No.
Theory.
They Sheldon and Amy are dating, and they don't understand gossip, obviously, and so
Right.
they play a game. Where they're like they're gonna have 2 pieces of gossip, one that's like innocuous,
Right.
and then one that's like really spicy. And they're gonna see which one permeates the group fastest. Like they're gonna both tell it to
Oh,
one person
funny.
and see how fast it gets for one of those rumors to get back to the other person. And it's always the most like insane one. Like Amy's like, Sheldon and I had sex, and it's like obviously not true, but
Right.
it comes back to Sheldon
Super fast.
and he's sitting at his computer when Leonard like talks to him about it, and then Leonard walks away and Sheldon closes whatever tab he has open and Amy's on Skype. He's like, did you hear that? We have reached full permeation.
I love that because at my old school, sorry, I just love Twitter so much. I could tell that story was wrapping up, and I was like, I have time.
No, you're good.
At my old school, and I say this with love, and I'm not going to say the name because
Yeah.
I said it with love.
Yes.
I knew the person or persons
Mm-hmm.
that if I wanted news to get out and I didn't want to be the one to say it, I just had to
tell
say
them.
it just to them.
Yes.
And then the next time you see someone, you're like, yeah, I heard. They're like, I also heard. And in the back of my mind, I'd be like, excellent. Good. Because I'm super popular. So I had at times like insider knowledge and info that I thought others should know. But I can't be the one that dispenses
Tell
it.
it.
Let's give me 2 glasses of wine at happy hour. Oh my God. Haha. It's just the 2 of us.
You want to know everything I know.
Good. Now tell everybody.
Yeah.
So, to clarify 2 things. Actually, a couple things. First, President Reagan, staunch fiscal conservative, had the federal government buying too much milk products and he wanted out. So he created a milk checkoff program, aka a tax on dairy farmers that would then work to convince Americans to buy the milk products, keeping the demand high, the price up, and the government out of the milk buying industry.
I love that.
Here's the other thing you should know. That campaign is literally called the Got Milk ? Campaign.
Yeah.
That is its name, and it really
Yeah.
messed up auto capitalization for some of these notes.
Yeah.
And finally, the Got Milk campaign is still running. And while maybe not as iconic as it originally once was, that is not for a lack of trying.
Yeah.
Now, this next section, a piece of advocacy, comes directly from the Got Milk website.
Wow.
This year's campaign for milk. When even the most wholesome things are called into question, it is important to trust your heart. That's why Got Milk took to the streets with our favorite host,
Oh my gosh.
Brian Baumgartner, also known as Kevin from The Office.
Get out.
Dead serious.
I love that man so much.
Well, he's the face of Got Milk
I
right
know.
now.
I love that. Wow.
He pulled up to Venice Beach in a van that said Got Milk, got out in a white shirt that with black lettering
Yeah.
said Got
Milk.
Milk, and asked people about things they trust. Here's the end of this press release.
Oh my gosh.
To see if disinformation could make Californians doubt their love for all things good. As it turns out, real milk is one of those things. People have counted on milk's nutritional goodness for the last 7,000 years.
What?
No doubt They'll always count on it.
How many Christians did they
It's
ask?
legitimately direct government propaganda for like, buy milk, we purchased a celebrity.
God, I want to use that Got Milk font so bad, except I know it's like behind so many copyright laws. It would be so funny to like make other Got blank
You know
mark?
what we got to do? Donald Trump, if you can hear me, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, please continue to hand out free cheese to Americans. We promise, Donald Trump, please. In your name we pray, Donald Trump, please give me free milk and trademark access to the Got Milk logo.
Please.
Thank you, Donald Trump. And clear highway traffic in the morning. I don't want to be late. It's Friday tomorrow. It's so funny. It's so funny because it's so deeply, it's performance art. It's ironic.
It's also just really funny because you asked them to clear the highway on a Friday morning. No one goes to work
That's actually
on Fridays except for you.
Oh, so you are reading the text messages. Oh, okay. So the lack of response is because you guys hate me, not because you didn't see it.
No,
Gotcha,
it's because
gotcha.
As I read it, I giggle and then I go on with my day. I'm like, haha, so true. Anyway.
I love our mood because, well, we are wine drunk. We're also full of cheese right now.
It's a
and that's
good time.
adding a fun little
Yeah.
element to everything. When I was able to work in even an Office reference to all of this,
that was
I was
good.
like, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So the Got Milk campaign had varied results, but you know what didn't have varied results? Sorry. So the Got Milk campaign had varied results,
Yes.
aka some failures.
Yes.
But you know what doesn't really experience a lot of failures? Government policy. And if you have ever wondered why schools are making grown-ass 18-year-old teenagers drink gallons of milk for lunch, it is because of this exact scenario.
Yeah.
Because if teenagers don't drink the milk, the government has to buy it. And that is their biggest fear.
Somehow in the most disgusting cartons, like little tiny baby cartons that
Don't
you'll
worry,
ever see.
we've somehow managed to rot from the top down.
Yeah.
Our bottom is indestructible, but you don't want to touch
But
the
the
top.
top is moldy for some reason.
That little pinch, it's not good.
No. Oh, God. If they didn't give you a straw, baby girl, don't drink it.
In my old school, so in the school that I'm teaching at now, which is 100 years old and gorgeous
Yes,
and
it's
incredible,
stunning.
it has floor-to-ceiling windows in a lot of places and just like a little ledge. And like 3-4 weeks ago, I was walking down the hallway at like 5 p.m. And it's a big school, so this is not a slam on custodians or anything. But I saw a carton that had clearly been there from lunch, and it's like 5 p.m.
Yeah.
now. So we're talking at minimum 5 hours, maybe 6, depending on when it got dropped off. I hope to God it's not a breakfast milk.
Oh, God.
But it's open,
Yeah.
and the sun couldn't be more directly in it if it tried. You couldn't put the sun in that milk more than you tried. Just
no.
like whatever civilization is blooming there. I hope they've gotten to the Renaissance because we are about to dump them out. But oh my, like you could just see life forming in front of it.
Oh, that's so funny.
So we make those children drink as much milk as possible.
yeah, insane.
And then dye it a little brown and like call it chocolate milk
Yeah.
to try to get them to drink more
Yeah.
of it. And all of this is through the Special Milk Program.
Oh, my God.
So the SMP, Special Milk Program,
Wow.
provides milk to children in schools and childcare institutions who do not participate in other federal meal service programs.
Okay.
The program reimburses schools for the milk they serve. This is directly from the
Yeah.
website, if that's not clear.
Yeah.
The program reimburses schools for the milk they serve. Schools in the National School Lunch or School Breakfast programs may also participate in the Special Milk Program to provide milk to children in half-day, pre-K, and kindergarten programs where children do not have access to school meal programs. So basically, this is government speak for. This kid doesn't need to qualify for literally any government program
But still make
at
sure
all.
he guzzles that milk.
If he takes the milk carton, we will pay you back for it. Which is why, as teachers, like they're always, oh my God, it's so funny. And that was like, we got a little bit of Office for Maya.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of teacher things for Grant here. The amount of times I've been on field trips and they send you with sack lunches, and like shout out to cafeteria workers. Like
Yeah.
they're putting together meals. Obviously, there's a bunch of guidelines. The sandwich is always pretty solid, but like there's usually like a plastic tote bag, a plastic tote box of paper sack lunches.
Right.
that you're handing out to the kids. And then also a crate of milk that has been in the bottom of this yellow school bus.
Just forever.
That you then haul out and put like directly on the sidewalk and like have to make the children take. And then they immediately
They
go
just
over
throw it
to
away,
this
yeah.
city park trash can where it immediately gets dumped. And the school gets paid like 75 cents for each one of
and
those
that trash
things.
can's gotta smell so bad.
And the government doesn't have to put that milk into cheese and then into the ground. Isn't it wild to find out that this is how this part of the world works?
I fucking hate it here.
I don't know if I feel burdened by this knowledge or glad to have it, but now we all have it.
Yeah. And you're welcome for that.
Okay, so where are we going from here? Let's find out. I don't remember. Oh, right. Okay, so we're starting to wrap up the end. So they like literally it could be a Gates child. It could be a billionaire child. And if they take a milk carton out of the milk container thing on their way to lunch, the government's like, thank you.
Thank
Here's
you
some
so
money.
much. Yeah.
We would rather pay children to throw it away than store it.
In our weird underground cave.
Right. And it's thanks to this government policy that 40% of all milk is consumed by people under the age of 18 in America.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Even with all of these programs, the government is still on the hook to purchase extra dairy at times to stabilize the dairy industry.
So funny.
And they keep that cheese in giant, abandoned limestone mines in Missouri.
Yes.
There is a semi-secure,
Semi-secure?
relatively secret, literal cheese mine in the center of the country, buried below our feet. Except, turns out, no.
Can we do Oceans like 15 on this mine?
There isn't a mine. Listen, I need to be honest with you. And Maya, I need to be honest with you.
I'm going to be so mad at you.
I understand.
I'm going to be so mad at you.
I understand. When I started this story, I did so based on something I had seen online and had shared in passing on the podcast, that the government owns billions of pounds of cheese and they keep it in an underground mine. And then before I finalized this topic, I did some pre-research to make sure there was a story there. And so I started researching the story and I found out about the Dairy Parity Price Index and government cheese and how it all connects back to the Got Milk campaign and why we have to keep giving all these children so much milk. And I'm like, dope, this is such a funny story. Oh my God, we can eat cheese. And I was like, and I'm sure like the reason why I haven't found the secret government cave is because it's like a little secret.
Yeah.
But I can find it. Like that's not an issue at all. And so then I started researching the story and I found, said that part. This is the next paragraph. The problem was in my research, I wasn't finding the grand prize, the cave itself. And I was spending so much time scouring the internet. And so I went to Google Maps. I panned over the state of Missouri and I literally typed in like
cheese cave.
Right, which this caving a cheese is actually part of a lot of cheese's aging process. It's part of cheddar, so that gave me the result I didn't want. So I typed in like underground storage, and that brought me to Springfield Underground in Springfield, Missouri. Yep, this is where they are stashing the government cheese.
So there is a stash of government cheese.
This is where I need to just check something real quick. 1 second. Oh my God.
Are you finishing your research right now?
It came in 45 minutes ago.
What?
Oh my God, it came in. You're seeing this live on air. So I found the Springfield, Missouri. I found Springfield Underground. And I reached out to them.
Shut up!
I sent them this email. Oh my God. Oh my God. I did another investigative journalism piece on cheese. Hello, my name is Grant Thomas, and I am a co-host of the podcast Well, I Laughed. Our show focuses on sharing interesting and funny stories my co-host and I find every week. Recently, I began researching this funny story I came across on the internet, that the U.S. government is keeping millions of pounds of cheese stored underground in old limestone mines in Missouri. My research into this story led me to Springfield Underground, the name of this company.
Yeah.
Led me to Springfield Underground and a realization that this isn't true. Or at least, if the U.S. government is storing millions of cheese somewhere, they are not doing so in your facility. In light of that, and in hopes of ending my story about underground cheese with some actual truth, I had some questions I was wondering if Springfield Underground might be willing to answer.
Shut up, Grant.
It's 3. This isn't
So ridiculous.
I'm aware. It actually took me 2 days to even build up the courage to send this email. I emailed them last night at 11 p.m. because I was like, we are on a deadline. Because I was like, what if they send a cease and desist letter? I mean, obviously, we're still going to do it. It's publicly facing. We're not receiving any financial compensation from it. But like, what if they send this? But I was like, no, it's fine. Okay, so here are the questions. I asked 3. Your company names itself as a multi-generational business, so I am curious. When did the rumor that the U.S. government is storing cheese at your facility start? Was it a local urban legend that grew into something more? Or did the rumor just appear one day on the internet, as things can on the internet do sometimes? Second, you mention on your website that you do not offer tours and clarify that you are not a secret cheese holding. I sent an actual company this email. I'm only on question. I'm halfway through question 2 of 3, and that you are not a fuck. Where am I? That you are not a secret cheese-holding government facility. I'm wondering if there are any wild or crazy stories you have experienced from people searching for cheese caves. Finally, how has the rumor impacted business? Do people harass you, or are most who reach out simply curious cheese-loving Americans? Because we're in Missouri, so I was like, let's ham it up a little bit. I realize the nature of this email is odd. However,
Jesus Christ.
I was so prepared not to share this because I didn't have the answer.
Yeah.
I realize the nature of this email is odd. However, having reached the end of my cheese cave research quest, I didn't feel like I could close the book on my story without reaching out to Springfield Underground directly. Best, Grant Thomas. Podcast email, whileilaughdpod@gmail.com.
Did you do this from the podcast email?
So there's actually a form you need to fill out on their website if you want to ask them any questions. And so I did it that way. And then I typed the phrase available wherever you get podcasts. And then I selected it and deleted it. And then I was like, what if they want us to check us out? Then I typed in again, available wherever you get podcasts. And then I go, but what if they then find us on TikTok and see the kind of people we are? And because it's in Missouri, they're like, I don't want to fucking answer these questions. So then I select and delete it again. And I was like, send. It's 11:15 p.m. and I have a gay book to start reading. Okay, so I am now going to read to you an email that I have never read before that came in 45
While we were
minutes
recording
ago.
this
Yeah.
episode.
You had already eaten so much cheese when this email came in. Okay. Oh my God, it's so long. I'm so excited. Hi, Grant. I can generally trace the beginning of the cheese cave myth. Oh, fuck yeah, they have sources. So the cheese cave myth to this article from the Wall Street Journal in 2016. Linked.
Oh my gosh.
This article is factual and accurate. Best I can tell, it was later butchered by Desert News in 2022.
Oh.
Copied there, which was the source of the general misinformation and took on a life of its own with other non-news outlets like Modern Farmer, etc.
Okay.
And I found the Modern Farmer article.
Okay.
It's actually why I need to look in Springfield. The truth is fairly dull. The USDA collects and reports data on food in cold storage, but it does not own the food it reports on.
Okay.
You can find this information
That
publicly
makes way
available
more
here.
sense.
This is absolutely a form they have sent out to other people. But I'm still like so deeply moved and honored that they would respond
yes.
to my investigative journalism inquiry that my anxiety kept me from, like, not anxiety, but imposter syndrome kept me from.
They responded.
I'm going to solve a murder case on the next podcast that I do.
Please do.
Naughty or nice, I'm going to fucking figure it out.
I have the cameras. I'll make a documentary out of it.
I'd love it so much. Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Okay. But it does not own the food it reports on. You can find it here. As you can see from the latest October report, there is currently 1 billion pounds of cheese in warehouses and consumer pipelines. This means it is owned by the brands you know and love in your grocery store. Just like in your refrigerator, cheese has a shelf life in warehouses. Fluctuations in cheese in storage is a reflection of the consumption of the American public and not a stockpile of past date cheese. Gross. In parentheses, she's one of us.
Oh my
she's
God.
one of us.
Gross. Oh my gosh.
You can also see from the reports that the cheese is distributed throughout the United States, as one might expect, to maximize cost effectiveness when getting the cheese to consumers.
Right.
Springfield Underground is an underground industrial park with a wide variety of tenants who find the underground environment resilient, cost effective, and value the first-class industrial spaces provided by our team. Honestly, shout out Springfield and Underground. If you have underground storage needs, I actually really strongly would recommend this company. They have been very cool about this entire thing, as you're finding out live
Right
on
now?
air. I'm so gooped that they responded and that it happened at 8:45, like 45 minutes ago.
It's insane.
So I'm proud of us.
I checked my clock, my phone around the time that they sent that email.
You
That's
had a
crazy.
feeling. You had a feeling.
I did.
And value the first-class industrial spaces provided by our team. Springfield Underground works with the USDA to ensure a food-safe environment to our tenants that are part of the food supply chain. The USDA is not a tenant of Springfield Underground, and we do not have a single pound of government-owned cheese. We get a lot of inquiries about the government cheese and have bandwidth to respond to very few of these. The truth is, there are a lot of very hardworking people that make Springfield Underground an amazing place, and their story is much more interesting than government cheese. But most people are fixated on a story that isn't true.
Oh.
I'm going to not say last name because we didn't actually get permission to say it, but one of the representatives from the group. Honestly, like, why am I now extra moved that they responded to us?
Yeah. That's so kind.
Did we build something?
Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Let's get some cheese.
Drinking wine, eating cheese,
Go ahead.
getting emails.
Plus 15 for the cheddar we're about to eat.
You didn't even cheers the cheese.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Get that. Put that back in your fucking mouth.
I'm on top of the world, baby.
Monet has to be a part of this.
I'm going to send the most kind email you have ever seen. It's that Sue Sylvester quote.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Oh, I'm about to write the crap of a thank you. Like, I'm going to, the way I'm going to
Can
thank
we send them stickers even if they don't want
Could
it?
you imagine?
Yeah.
Yes, we absolutely can.
Okay. I still owe a bunch of people stickers from our Instagram story forever ago.
Okay, so now I'm so touched they responded.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Because obviously I came in tonight with a different ending plan.
Yeah.
I had the podcast email basically pulled up all day monitoring it, and I was like, well, you sent it so late, like you can't expect them to respond to you. They got it to us within 24 hours. Shout out Springfield
insane.
Underground. Happened on air. I can't wait to that reveal when I'm like, I can't wait to hear that back.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna make it into a reel maybe.
Okay.
I'll make it into a reel and then post it in like 6 months.
So here is the ending that I had planned.
Okay.
So one of the reasons why people think Springfield Underground, this wonderful company that's super cool and like took a limestone cave and turned it into something usable.
Yeah.
And the limestone cave, for those of you who are wondering, they mined the limestone as an agricultural product because you can then spread lime on fields and it increases the calcium, which is good for plants and stuff.
Right.
And so they took this, what would otherwise be a hole in the ground, and created an energy efficient storage system, because the ground helps keeps the temperature
down.
down and like consistent, and you don't have to spend that much coolant as opposed to like storing it on the ground. So one of their main tenets is craft. So there actually is some cheese stored down there.
Yeah.
But it's mainly in Lunchables. Hasn't this story just been wonderful start to finish? It's like they have like bologna and a handful of Kraft singles and Lunchables. Go
I
ahead.
love this. I love this
It's
story.
so different than what I've done
This
the
is
last
so
like
good.
couple weeks and months.
We've been on a downward spiral into like sadder and
pretty
sadder
serious
stuff
things.
for a while.
But I don't know. I thought my Booth episode was pretty
Your
funny.
yeah. I was listening to that, editing it, and I was like, damn, that reveal was good.
And now we got an email live on air.
That was really good.
The way we just keep raising the bar. I'm now
like trying to
nervous.
think about who I could possibly email to get answers about next week's episode, and there is no one.
If you want help drafting the email, I'm pretty good at it. 100% response rate.
You'll understand next week whether there is no one I could email.
I'm even going to mention my own Midwestern roots when I email back to Springfield Underground.
As is your right.
This is how we talk to each other.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why people think. So I actually have some numbers around this. So basically, any given moment, just slightly over 1 billion pounds of cheese is in storage in America.
Oh yeah.
Which
Okay.
feels like a lot.
That-
But we
yeah, man.
eat 13 billion pounds of cheese a year as a country. So if we stopped making cheese, we don't even get to Christmas right now until we run out of it.
Well, here's an interesting fact too. With shelf-stable items, they have to sit in cold storage for almost a month or something before
Yeah.
they can even be transported out. So it makes sense that there's like kind of a lag period.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so tying up some loose ends here as well. In 2014, the federal government changed the Dairy Product Parity Price Index and the Dairy Supplemental Support Program.
Reagan is rolling in his grave.
I hope so. Hope it's also pretty warm for him.
He's not in a limestone grave.
No,
so.
he's not. He's not in a temperature-controlled space.
Haha.
So they changed it to a risk management system as opposed to a we'll just buy whatever you need us to
I
buy
mean, that
kind
makes
of
more
system.
sense for the government.
And that change happened in 2014. I imagine the U.S. government, through its other agencies, still purchases dairy products at times,
Right,
perhaps in part to help stabilize, but they do seem to have changed the rule in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Although I only found that in one article. And also, now shout out to Springfield Underground. There's an NPR video out there that talks about the government cheese cave. And it's one of the first things I found because I started to try
Yeah.
to watch a YouTube video at the start of my research to figure out what
It
some of
makes
the
things
existing
a lot
narratives
easier.
are.
I've
Yeah.
been doing or finding at least like a general timeline. That way you
Right.
can like build out your notes from there.
That's why I was fine doing Buried Below because NPR was like, "There's a cave," but then I was like, "Okay, so
Okay,
there's
cool.
a
NPR
cave.
did it, yeah.
right, 100
Nice.
verified." No, there's not. They're wrong. There's 1 billion pounds in storage at any given time, but it's all in flux.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of it's in Lunchables.
That's so messed up.
Okay. Final loose ends. What about government cheese? So the end of government cheese. As part of the price support programs for farmers enacted in the I said all that already. Okay, so by the late 1980s, the U.S. government, instead of buying cheese, is starting to buy farmers off through more traditional subsidies to not produce as much dairy. They are
that
called
does make way more sense.
they're called herd purchases, where they basically like rent the cows for a year and
they're like,
don't
"Don't
milk
milk."
them. Yeah, they're like, we're gonna rent them, but you're gonna keep them still, and you're not gonna milk.
It's the same thing
them, or
as
you're
like
milk
we're
'em
gonna
less.
pay you for this field,
Right,
That you're not.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
So that helps drastically cut the fire hose of dairy products they
Yes.
have to purchase down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But they still do at times produce some government cheese that they have purchased. You can right now, if you are a 60-year-old person or older,
Just like request cheese.
you have to, I think, be on government support of some kind to qualify
like
for the
SNAP
program.
or something
yeah.
like that.
Some kind of supplemental support program, but
Yeah.
you can still get a block of government cheese, 5-pound government cheese, like once a month or twice a month,
That's
depending on what the
wild.
program is.
In my head, it's delivered in like one of those like milk delivery boxes.
It's not
only,
that chic.
That only rich people
Yes.
have. Yeah.
And it's where they put their shoes.
Yeah. For some
Yes.
reason. Yeah.
Okay, so final notes, saving American cheese.
Yes.
Through this process, I have changed my own thoughts on American cheese
Mm-hmm.
and Kraft singlets that most of us think of when we think of American
Yes.
cheese. I still hate the plastic waste that Kraft singlets
yeah.
produces, but the cheese itself, in my opinion, has actually changed substantially.
Yeah.
In fact, some will argue that American cheese isn't an inherently bad thing. It's just misunderstood. Iron Chef Alex Garancelli, it's Italian. I think I said that wrong. I'm sorry. Of all the things I checked, I forgot to get to that name. Has proclaimed her love for American cheese in a series of tweets. She said, "A burger and a grilled cheese, there's nothing better. Stop playing. I might go as far to say someone who doesn't like American cheese is someone you can't trust." People decry American cheese, stating that it's not even real cheese, when in actuality, it does contain real cheese. Like milk, American cheese, a combination of cheese, milk, and dairy ingredients, goes through a pasteurization process. The salts are then added to facilitate the even, consistent melt. And a lot of chefs like American cheese because you can put it on, it melts, it gets creamy, but it doesn't fall apart. And most importantly, it doesn't produce grease that melting other kind of cheeses do. Even Swiss cheese puts off quite a bit of grease. But like American cheese, because of the way it's been produced, produces like very little grease by comparison. If you're seeing grease on your grill, it's probably the meat that is producing that grease.
Oh, interesting.
And it's not even real cheese. To get the best of both worlds, there are other cheese brands that are crafting American cheese slices while placing an emphasis on health and environmentalism. Nice. Horizon Organics American cheese slices, for examples, are produced with no antibiotics, no persistent pesticides, and no added hormones, and only non-GMO ingredients, said Lee Nelson, Horizon Organics brand manager. Dia Foods, based out of Canada, carries dairy-free slices of American cheese for vegans and those with lactose intolerance. And I'd like to point out, vegan cheese is also incredibly processed, the main criticism towards American cheese.
Yeah.
And many of the steps people are doing to make American cheese healthier are steps that other cheeses could do and are not doing. Like the thing that they're doing to make American cheese healthier isn't actually what's making it like unhealthy. It's unhealthy because it's like a shit ton of dairy.
Yeah.
But so is all cheese.
Yeah.
And just because it doesn't fit what we have now developed as like our perception as to what cheese is supposed to look like.
Or what health is supposed to look like. Because dairy is not inherently bad for you.
Right, exactly.
It's a certain kind of dairy. It's an excessive dairy. It's the wrong kind of fats in dairy.
Right.
Like, dairy itself is not bad for you.
But, and this is me calling my 7 days ago self out before I got to the bottom of this well. Your perceptions, accidentally, not calling you guys bad people, but your perceptions of American cheese as being unhealthy is actually rooted in classism because it was viewed as a lower class food, which we just inherently view
because of government
as unhealthy.
Cheese,
right? Which was never American cheese, but was similar to American cheese because we needed it to be shelf stable,
right?
And so it's actually if you would never eat. Like me this summer, if you would never eat American cheese, would have no issue like scarfing down a manchego. Like, that's actually not health, that's classism. And that's something that I wanted to point out too. And then several people are like, okay, sure, hear all of that. But American cheese has red dye number 40 in it, right? No, it doesn't.
What about preservatives, just in general?
I can't wait for this last part.
Okay.
One final thing. Yeah. And the biggest slap against American cheese is its color. Haha, nice. Is its color. The bright orange color that makes everyone super nervous. Yeah. It's annatto. It's a seed that we strip color off of. It's naturally occurring. Yeah. It's from the tropical regions of the Americas, which is how we know American cheese in the 1790s was white, not yellow.
Interesting.
It's, quote, slightly peppery with a hint of nutmeg, snutty, sweet, and peppery. And that plant, whose seeds we use to produce the color, and basically the color alone, looks like this.
Freaky looking plant.
Oh, I thought it looked like the most natural plant in the world. I'm like, yeah, those are seeds.
I mean, the thing around it, like the shell that the seeds are in is freaky. I don't like it.
So I have two final paragraphs that I will read. But before I do...
There's another gift? Is it a craft singlet?
One last gift.
One single craft singlet. Monet is like,
prove.
Yeah!
Prove that we have learned the errors of our ways and eat a craft singlet with me.
Oh my God.
Isn't
It's
this
even
so
the Kroger
funny?
brand.
Oh, I wasn't.
I wasn't going to support
No,
Kraft.
turns out Kraft singlets are like
Expensive,
yeah, it's
right?
$4.50 for 12 slices. This was $2.28 for like 12 slices. Or maybe 16. So now
Where's the little
we've
opening?
opened
There
up
it is.
it's like opening up. Sorry, this is a family program. I can't say it. You know what I was going to
Yes,
say.
I do.
Oh, say it on the Patreon.
Whoa!
I'm increasingly aware that Springfield, Missouri might be listening to this episode. And I'm not regretting what I said about Reagan, but had I known, I would have maybe selected a different tone. A lot of that was said before that email
They're
came in.
so, these pieces of cheese are so addicting.
I managed to rip just her top off, but nothing else.
That's so funny.
It's
on
like me
so
on
many
prom
levels.
night. How do I? Can you just do it? I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I think I'm tearing something.
You have to tear both sides at the same
okay.
time.
Okay. We can choose this. The reason why I didn't think about cheersing your cheddars was like, there's definitely still a cheese
Cheers.
cheers coming. Cheers.
It's so good. It's the same reason I like Subway. Like, I don't.
Mm-hmm. As a kid.
Does my body think it might be bad just because of the way that it tears
Right.
weird?
Because you're like, this isn't a berry.
Yeah.
I could literally never imagine this on a baguette, you know? But I'm also reminded, so when I was a kid on the farm, not on the farm, but when we would go visit the farms, we would pack lunches to go be out for a long day. I'm sure they'd be in a cooler. That was mainly to keep them away from animals. We ate as a kid, from what I remember at least, maybe it was only twice, but this is what I remember. It'd be 2 slices of white bread, a little bit of mayo or a little bit of mustard, and then like on each sandwich, like 3 slices of American cheese. No meat, because that could go bad in the heat. But the
cheese
American
won't,
cheese wouldn't. It would keep its shape. And so this plus a little dry bread, and my mouth is now kind of, and so you're reaching for your water, and I'm in the back of a pickup truck, and we're in like a cornfield or next to like a row of trees. This is what my childhood summers were like.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
When I was probably in that same era of childhood, I got really into salami sandwiches.
Our ability to go from serious to funny, sweet to funny, heartfelt to funny, our ability to sit in a mood for 30 seconds and then give you something totally different is unparalleled in the podcasting industry. And we're also starting to dabble into exploratory investigative journalism. Watch out. Please say more about your salami sandwiches.
It's just 2 pieces of white bread, some Japanese mayo, of course,
Duh.
or white mayo. It would be like Japanese mayo on one side and like regular mayo on the other side, and then just like 9 slices of salami.
Oh my God.
Not like 9 on top of each other, but like 9 like covering the piece of bread, and then on top of each other, and then sliced in half. Yeah. That hit the spot. That was good.
Yeah.
My
Thank
mouth
you.
was starting to crave it, so I'm glad you brought it.
I'm glad you ate it with me. I now need to figure out what I'm going to do with 14 slices. And I think
cheese.
what I'm going to do.
Grilled cheese.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get into, I'm going to try to like reappreciate what American cheese is and can do and why.
Now that you know it's some of your
once I
perceptions of it were wrong.
realized that I have these sweet childhood memories around the flavor, but there's this classism issue that has me thinking I shouldn't eat it anymore.
Yeah.
With like this, like for instance, I even did this at the store.
Yeah.
Because you
looked at the ingredients?
I looked at the ingredients because you're expecting something or
Yeah.
another. The ingredients literally are, not to like advertise. Do you want to read it?
Yeah.
Sweet, amazing.
I want to read it. Ingredients: American cheese.
Told you.
Pasteurized milk, cheese culture, salt, enzymes, water, whey, reduced lactose whey, sodium citrate, skim milk, cream, milk fat, butter, natural flavor, salt, tricalcium phosphate, color added, netaminiacin, I don't know, a natural mold inhibitor. So yeah, I mean like
all natural things.
yeah,
for the most
there's
part.
like 3 things that I like don't know off the top of my head, but I
Right.
like know I see a lot in ingredients lists.
It's like shockingly good for you.
Yeah.
So if the American Dairy Association could sponsor us, last 2 paragraphs from this entire episode.
Love it.
Today, liquid milk consumption is down almost 30%
Boo.
over the last 20 years. But
Weak.
cheese consumption is up almost exactly the same
We love our
amount.
charcuterie boards.
Even if American cheese isn't America's favorite anymore.
Oh.
Mozzarella is the most consumed cheese. And I'm positive it's just those goddamn mozzarella sticks from Chili's. You know, the ones that have like the cheese pull and stuff?
Did I tell you about the appetizer I had? Well, yeah, you can finish. You can finish.
It's just literally like 2 more cheeses and then the whole episode's done. So it's mozzarella.
Now you know how I feel. I want you to know. I want you to remember this
I'm
feeling.
not going to feel sympathy for women. I don't know.
I already let you vote, okay?
Exactly. And I said I was cool with that. I said I was a second wave feminist. So mozzarella, the average American consumes 12.5 pounds of mozzarella a year.
That feels like a lot.
Yeah, it does. Imagine eating 12.5 pounds of literally anything else. If I told you I ate 12.5 pounds of hot dogs, it's from the grave. But also, it's like...
Yeah, they're hot dogs.
You know when your mom would come home from the grocery store and it was like life was good? And,
Yes.
And you would... Because food was unlimited because you didn't have to buy it. So it wasn't weird to have 6 string cheeses in a day. I actually think there's some American children out there who are housing 12 pounds of mozzarella a week. Okay, so 12.5 pounds of mozzarella. That was then followed by American cheddar at 11.3 pounds.
That's wild.
And then this is a direct quote from one of the dairy industry websites.
Yeah.
Other popular types of American cheeses comes in third at 4.83 pounds
Wow.
a year. And then,
That's a huge jump from cheddar to American
so
cheeses.
it's 12.5 pounds
Yeah,
of mozzarella a
then
year,
11,
and then
then 4,
4.8
yeah.
American types of cheeses, and then 3.59 Italian types of cheeses.
What? The French are like, what?
I'm also like, beyond mozzarella, what is there?
Yeah.
I understand there's pizza blend at Kroger's, and I've loved that. And then I remember Parmesan.
Wait, okay, yeah.
So every year, Americans standing in the glow of their fridge with a shaky spoon and a green bucket are just eating 3.5 pounds of crumbled cheddar.
Parmesan.
Right, Parmesan, thank you. They're doing a whole minute before they tell the waiter at Olive Garden when. You know, that is when they're getting their Italian cheeses.
The tense moment where you're making that poor, like, 18-year-old just grind Parmesan.
And why does it feel like I'm taking food off his table? Like, it's not
true.
his cheese.
Yeah,
you
why
know?
do I feel bad the longer I wait? I'm like,
Honestly-
no, I want this whole thing coated
Not
a
to
little
be a
bit.
capitalist, but it's more my cheese than his. I'm a paying
Yes.
customer.
Just feels weird.
Why is it a requirement at Olive Garden that every cheese grater be a man? Because I feel like that's the only person I've ever seen humiliatingly like standing over.
I've only ever been worried about a man. A woman I feel okay with
That's
for
fair.
some reason.
I get that. Maybe
That's
inverse
strange.
for me.
Yeah.
And also, the only reason why I said humiliating there, not because it's humiliating to grade cheese, but it's humiliating for you both to avoid eye contact with each other.
And anyone else at the table also.
Mhm. Thanks so much. And it's like the shoulder shift.
Yes. Do you say thanks so much? What do you say to stop the Parmesan grater?
When? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's really great. That was really great. Thank
I
you.
love the fact that we started saying when kind of as a joke because they say when.
Right.
And even if they don't, they're like, tell me when to stop. You're just like, when?
We're a very literal country who just wants a lot of cheese on my 3 cheese tortellini in cheese sauce.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Honestly, just leave that cheese grater here, please.
Sometimes I'm eating a meal and I'm like, am I experiencing any cheese or am I just experiencing the promise of an upset stomach in 20 minutes?
That must be hard.
Yeah, it's hard not to be able to. Because the thing that I'm not even talking about is that the average American eats over 40 pounds of cheese a year.
insane.
That's the average, okay? When you think about the number of people from like Asian communities or certain like Latino, Hispanic communities who eat significantly less
I was gonna say,
cheese,
yeah.
the average white American is
Just
clearing
housing that
40.
shit.
Remember how when we'll do cooking times with Thomas and my measurement is just whole packet, whole bottle, whole can? Because that's how I learned growing up. A very famous recipe in our household was my mom's cheesy potatoes, frozen hash browns, 2 cans of cream of chicken mixed up, maybe a canister of sour cream if we had it in the fridge, 2 bags of Kroger's cheddar cheese, mix.
That's how I make my
a little
chili.
bit for a crust. Yes.
Yeah.
I legitimately, I had a chili day when we had our
Yeah.
snow.
Yes.
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 Went all out on those first 2 bowls.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I was like, oh, well, I guess this is the last bowl because I'm almost out of cheese. And anyways, that's the story of American cheese.
I was gonna tell a story and then I let you finish and then I forgot what it was.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to speak over
No.
you.
I was like, that's okay. I'll totally finish in a second, and then I forgot what it was. It's fine.
You sure?
I can't remember
Okay.
it, so there's nothing I can do about it.
Cannot explain what this episode has been, but I can
thank you.
explain that I've had a good time.
It's been good.
It's been fun.
This is really good.
And in an insane way, really actually earning our educational podcast title this week.
Next
we got an
week's-
email live on air.
Yeah, that's an insane thing.
Still processing that,
Yeah.
by the way.
I'm
Still
gonna
processing
send
that.
you that clip,
Thank
even if I don't immediately
Thank
make it
you.
into a reel.
Holy shit, they responded. What is it, Grant? What is it? So I did more investigative journalism. For
What do
my
you mean?
I like how literally the 2 episodes, I've done so many topics. I've done 30 now. That was this episode, I think, was 30.
Yeah.
We're getting very close. I've done 30 topics now, all sorts of different things. And the 2 that I've done investigative journalism on was convicted spy reality winner and American cheese. And that's me. And as I said to Lydia earlier today, people are regularly shocked at the consistency of my personality.
And that's not something I can say.
Like, I am just so much the man you meet at all times that it actually, I think, freaks people out.
It's really great for me with anxiety because I and that's why it freaks me out whenever you've had a weird drive over and you don't give me the same energy and I'm like, oh God.
Sorry, I was listening to Ryan Beatty on the way over and I'm just kind of in a weird mood right now.
Like
I know I'm lovable, but what if I'm not? Anyways, how was your
mad
day?
At me? God.
Oh, I listened to the latest episode 2 where I talk about being vulnerable or whatever. And I was like, I'm working on accepting help, not in my personal life. I'm the most independent. And I was like, oh, that's so true. Hey, here's the thing. Here's how I know we're having a good time. Because we're just chowing down on cheese like we're in a Patreon episode right now.
know.
And they're like, is there any other cheese facts you need to know?
This is Mo's favorite episode. She's
Bal-
losing her mind.
Bowser's going to be down here next episode.
He would never.
So it's been a good time, and we thank you for joining. Oh, I got to do the speech. I'm the one that ends it. Is there anything else that you want to say about American
think
cheese?
so. Love you. I'm excited for next week. It's going to be a more serious one.
Couldn't imagine how.
Mostly because this one was just full of good times. But I made a promise to myself after I got everyone's reaction to QAnon. And not saying that I'm not proud of QAnon or the 50 Cent episode. I actually think they're both really good.
They're fantastic.
But this one is more of like a, wow, humans did that moment.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Interesting.
So it'll be good.
Interesting.
It's a happy one.
Oh, interesting.
Not happy, but serious, but like, damn, we are cool.
I have a couple of thoughts and theories, and I'm not going to say or share them. But Monday we're recording again, yeah?
Mm-hmm. We should also record twice next week because Thanksgiving is a week after.
Right.
And I just want to get ahead before Christmas.
Tournament week, so maybe not happening, but I will try.
Okay.
I love you. I'm sorry.
Can you do like Wednesday?
Can you ask me on Sunday?
I'll try.
Let's go ahead and cut this weird part of podcast business.
Casey?
Hey, Casey, there's cheese in the fridge. All right, here's the closing speech. Hey, thanks so much for listening. And if you're Springfield Underground or one of their representatives,
Thank you.
bye. I also kind of imagine, but thank you for being here. I do believe everything I said about Reagan, but I wouldn't have said it with such vigor had I known you would be on today's episode. To everyone else, if you enjoyed us, you can find us on social media where we are essentially Well I Laughed Podcast on everything. You can write into us with your own silly stories, your own stories about government cheese,
Yes.
or being buried below, or really just kind of anything. We get a lot of heartbreak stories, and we love those. Oh, if you pissed your pants, those stories are great too. Anyways, you can write those into wellilaughdpod@gmail.com. And if you would like additional content, which is actually really much the vibe of this episode,
Yes.
but even more unraveled,
Yes.
you can find us on Patreon, where we are Well I Laughed Podcast. And for an additional $5 a month, you essentially get 4 more free episodes and access to the Discord. And we hope that it's worth you guys' time.
And rate us 5 stars if you can, please.
Gotta remember to work that into my speech.
And we're on Cameo if you want.
Anyways, I can't ask, do you want more cheese? Because I've had so much cheese.
I really have.
Until then,
Okay, bye.